by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
To go. A very, very good morning to you. It is Monday, what is it, the 19th of January 2026. It's JK on Talk, the home of common sense, and it is, as we said, where the nation comes to speak. The home of you, the alarm clock Brit, who's up and about while those lazy buggers are lying in bed. Welcome to the show. As ever, loads to talk about. In a tick, the greatest newspaper reviewer of all, Poppy Coburn. No doubt your messages will rain in. Morning, Poppy, you're brilliant. Oh, Poppy, you should have the show. No jealousy. 0344 499 1000. The A-team are in. Christian's is in grey today, and I'll tell you why in just a tick. 0344 499 1000 for your voice notes. Text messages, please, 87222. If you do ring the show, be careful with Damien. He went to a wake and got drunk. I'm not saying any more, but he's a little bit messy around the edges is the best way to describe it. And Big M pushing the buttons. Let me to just say one thing. The reason, undoubtedly, that Christian is in grey, and we've checked this out already, is that it is Blue Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into the news, it's Blue Monday. This is the most depressing day of the year. People are supposedly suffering from post-Christmas blues. Nobody's got any money. The weather's rubbish. It doesn't mean you're going to spend Blue Monday the day trying to tune into Pornhub, which apparently and allegedly is now more difficult. I have absolutely no idea. But Blue Monday, so we just thought it was a bit of fun, and please try and think beyond Starmer, but I have a feeling I know what's coming. What are you depressed about at work? What's really got you go? Why are you depressed on Blue Monday? 87222, start your message to the word talk. And we say a very good morning to the light of my life, Poppy Coburn, deputy commentator at The Telegraph.
Good morning. It is a good morning. I didn't feel blue at all.
Do you not?
In a great mood. I did feel quite blue earlier in last week because the weather was so depressing.
So you're not miserable at all?
Sad. No, I actually feel like I'm in a great mood.
Big M has already said he's depressed because his brakes have broken on his car. I'm thinking don't drive it. 87222, start your message with the word talk. What have we got? We've got a problem with her microphone, have we? Could we move the camera so that he actually isn't all over me? That might be a good idea. Great, fantastic. Anyway, team, let's start as we mean to go on. Another defection, Poppy Coburn. There's no mic for Poppy Coburn. Thanks for sharing this with me. I'm just talking to myself. If you've tuned in, what a great start to my Monday morning. I'll tell you what I'll do. This is what happened. Damien's put a microphone on that doesn't work because he's hungover. The Gremlins are here on Blue Monday. I'll run through what's in the papers. Another senior Tory has defected to Reform following that explosive Robert Jenrick exit last Thursday. Andrew Rossendale, the MP for Romford and former Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, has, and I quote, defected because he is so utterly astounded at the way the Conservatives have handled the Chagos Islands deal. This is also highlighted this weekend. Lisa Nandy, do you know her? The old Culture Secretary. She's accused Reform of being racist and fascist, predominantly fascist. What do you make of Lisa Nandy's comments? 87222. The whole Reform thing is fascinating. Today on this show, we'll have Richard Tice, deputy leader, one of the originals. In fact, he set it all up. How does he feel about this new intake? I'm thinking about this at 7 o'clock. If you've got a question you'd like me to put to Richard Tice, 87222. And later on, Julia has the main man. Robert Jenrick will be on this station after 10 o'clock this morning. OK, Poppy, is it working?
I think so.
Hey!
I jinxed it, didn't I? I said I'm in such a good mood, it's such a great day, Blue Monday. Don't say it.
No. So Blue Monday, 87222. We're talking about reform. It's in every single newspaper. Obviously, last Thursday, I'd finished on air the generic explosive exit, slightly badly choreographed. Some will say that Badenoch showed strength. Others will say it's the beginning of the end. But much said, much written. Overnight, another Tory MP has defected. This is Andrew Rossendale, the MP for Romford and the former Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, quoting, he left in protest at the Conservatives' handling of the Chagos Islands deal.
Yes. Well, this is pretty explosive, isn't it? Because, first of all, Kemi starts the morning, and it's almost hard to remember this now.
I know.
So much news has kind of come on top of it. But Kemi starts the morning with this quite bizarre Zoom call where the background's kind of all blurred out.
Apparently it was her house.
You can tell it's rushed, right, where she's saying, I'm removing Robert Jenrick from my party. I have found conclusive evidence that he's plotting against us. He wants to defect to reform and I want to stop him in his tracks. I don't want to give him the satisfaction of dumping me before I dump him. Everyone goes crazy. Oh, my goodness, Robert Jenrick's leaving. What's going to happen? Is he going to be accepted by reform? And for a few hours, I think a lot of people within Westminster don't actually know what's going to happen.
No.
Now, meanwhile, Nigel Farage is taking phone calls from Robert Jenrick and even calling him himself and working out a proper defection deal on a much compressed timeline. He's made it really clear that Kemi got it wrong. He was not going to defect at the 4:30 press conference. He was going to make a statement about the cancelled local elections. And if you listen to his speech at that 4:30 thing, you can really tell he's doing it off the cuff. You know, he didn't expect the day to turn out that way, but that's how things work in politics. So anyway, there he is. He's doing his introduction. Quite awkward, if we remember, because Jenrick doesn't seem to be able to walk out immediately when Farage introduces him. There's about a minute interregnum period where I wasn't sure whether or not...
Farage went, he hasn't changed his mind,
right,
has he?
Which was incredibly funny. And then Jenrick comes out and he gives a speech. He says, Britain is broken and my colleagues in the Conservative Party were the ones who broke it. Unsurprisingly so. So that's a massive defection. Then Kemi comes out again and says, well, I hate Robert Jenrick, you know, he was just bitter. He was bitter he couldn't beat me in the competition. I'm doing really well. Citation, nothing. I'm doing fantastically well, apparently. But don't worry, there will be no other big-name Tory defections. And what happens within the week? Andrew Rossendale goes.
Is Andrew Rossendale quite a big name?
I think he's a big name within the right of the Conservative Party. You know, I think he is important within the Conservative Party. I actually saw that Kate Hoey had made a statement saying this is a really serious person to leave the Tories. In the same way that Robert Jenrick seemed to speak for the right of the Tory Party, the fact that Rossendale has already jumped ship will say to people who are true blue Conservatives who remain, there is probably not a place for you to stay here. Well, exactly. You know, you should probably, you know, Brexit over to Nigel Farage, because I think another problem that happened last week is all the wets within the Conservative Party were celebrating, going, good riddance to bad rubbish. We didn't want you there anyway, you horrible, far right, you know, race baiter. We didn't want you in our party anyway. Let's just go back to navel gazing again, like we actually like to do, not coming up with any policies and virtue signalling, which is where the Conservative Party is apparently happiest stuff.
Chris Gibson can't be Blue Monday. Poppy's on. Oh my God, here we go. 8722.
That's my mum.
What, Chris? See, there are more than two sexes. The reason we're talking about Jenrick and we're talking about Rossendale is it's quite an interesting timeline, and there's going to be loads on talk today about this. I thought the speech, first up, I want to say this, that Jenrick made was world-class. Yeah. I thought that, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody else, but he is a major player. Yeah. And in my mind, there are two arguments about reform, OK? It needs... The people who say you need experience, you need quality, you need gravitas, you've got yourself a top politician there. One wonders, and I'm going to ask Richard Tice how the originals feel about this massive influx, what it means. Is Jenrick the heir apparent in 5 years to Farage when he's been Prime Minister? I don't know. There was stuff in the paper saying, new Sheriff Jenrick shot down by reform. Let's just hear a little bit of his speech, because I thought, I don't know about you as a journalist, but I thought the presentation of his speech was fantastic. This is him talking about the Conservative Party.
I can't, in good conscience, stick with a party that's failed so badly, that isn't sorry, that hasn't changed, that I know in my heart can't deliver what's needed. That is why I resolved to leave. Because Nigel has stood consistently and very often alone for what's needed. Ending mass migration, for cheap energy, for cutting waste and taxes and red tape. Now, I don't agree with everything that he's ever said, and he definitely won't have agreed with everything that I've ever said. But, in retrospect, I see that in this period, when two main parties were failing Britain, Nigel was all too often a lone voice of common sense.
Massive moment last Thursday, and overnight, if you're waking up to the news that another senior Tory has defected to Reform, Andrew Rossendale, the MP for Romford, former Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, and, according to Poppy Coburn, a big, big voice. There's so much I want to say about this, right? So you've got this sort of, where does the right go? I mean, Reform will make it known to anybody and everybody we're going to do this on their own. So as they attract the right of the Tory party, I think that would sort of stabilise their view that we don't need to do a deal with the Tories. Let's not forget what the Tories did for 14 years and the wets and the ineptitude, because I think that's very important. And yes, about Kemi, who I've met, I said it last week, I think probably a good player, a good operator, but maybe right person, wrong time. But then you've got this whole argument that a lot of Reform people feel, and they'll let me know this morning, how many more are coming from the Tory party who were all in that party when it was so utterly just devastatingly bad for the country. If you thought your day was getting bad, right, this is brilliant. Boris Johnson, he's weighed into it over the weekend. See, I know, you've got to see her face. We all used to go, come on, Bojo. Now she just goes, what does he want? This is him on Reform's decisions, people's reasons to defect to Reform. This is a rallying cry with a man who's got no hairbrush. Have a listen, have a watch.
Hi, folks. This is a message for all my fellow Conservatives, particularly those who are allegedly poised to defect to a famously Russia-loving party and may already be talking to their handling agents, you know, have had the vodka and the caviar. You're writing your defection speech even now. My message to you is, can it stop it? Don't do it.
Can it stop it? What does that mean?
I'm sorry, I just don't find it funny. I know it was great fun to laugh with Boris back when we didn't think he betrayed the country, but now I literally cannot stand the sight of him. What is he talking about? Russian agents. His party, the Conservative Party, is being destroyed before our eyes, and that's the best line that they can come out with.
And I'm going to say something that I never, ever thought that I would say, because I was a massive Boris Johnson fan, and I don't believe that the cake thing was enough. I remember the visions of the Queen. I get all of that. The reason that Boris Johnson should be held to account by the Conservative Party and its followers is that he was given a fantastic chance to govern this country in a way that I think a majority of people wanted for probably 10 or 15 years. And he went to the centre. He concentrated on net zero, and the Boris wave of immigration is a fact. And now they're clearing up the mess. And I didn't think I'd ever say this on national radio, but he's done. He's a busted flush. Nobody actually cares. Let's get back to this whole Reform idea. Lisa Nandy, she's the culture secretary. Why are you laughing now?
I'm laughing at her again because she's another J. I mean, I assume you're making reference to this fascist.
Well, I've got a clip. This is Lisa. All these people going to Reform. This is a way, right? If 20 million people support Reform, you're all fascists. Morning, Lisa Nandy.
I'm not sure that labels are particularly helpful, but like I said, I've got a lot of experience of dealing...
You're not saying no?
Living with the consequence... Well, I've got a lot of experience of living with the consequences of othering and people who are trying to divide us from one another, and I guess I would just say that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, in my experience, it usually is a duck.
Sorry?
Right, it's just ridiculous.
Sorry, if it walks like a duck or sounds like a duck, it's actually a duck.
Again, it's like Labour polling at all-time lows. Everybody in the country seems to absolutely despise them. And the only way that they can deal with this party that does seem to be heading on its way to number 10 is to just, like, call them... So we've got Boris calling them Russian agents, and we've got the Labour Party calling them German fascists. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. No. They can't be both.
Ducks, to be honest. I mean, honestly. What do you make of this, all my friends? 6:15, Neil says, morning, Poppy. That's all he says. Doesn't mention, you know, I got up at 2 o'clock, absolutely irrelevant. Tony, good morning. Andrew Rossendale, MP, defects. Who's next? He says, my money is on Suella Braverman.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think what you said earlier about, you know, whether or not all these Tories coming over by the May 7th deadline, because I suppose that was the other big announcement that happened when January defected. There is the problem that there are good people within the Conservative Party, that is true. But will it dilute reform and its anti-establishment message to have all of these Tories?
And also, how does that make the people that were there from the beginning
feel?
Is it about saving your career, the Tories, or is it about believing suddenly in something that you've spent a long time dissing? Sean in Gloucester. Morning, Poppy and JK. The Tories haven't been Conservative for a long time. Our only chance of preventing total disaster for the country is reform, and I agree with Jenrick. They have new, fresh ideas, and even if they achieve 10% of what we want, we will definitely be better off. Hello to Helen in London. Good morning, Poppy and Jez. Good morning, Alarm Clock Brits. I'm pumped. Let's do this. Where there is chaos, there is opportunity. Excited about the day. As for reform, they no longer have my vote. I am Advance UK. Nigel, you're losing support. All these Tories know. Screw politics. Let's have a nice day. That's interesting. There's a person who's saying, I'm done with Farage for inviting all these Tories. Interesting point.
I completely understand the sympathy. Is what Jenrick did at least is stand up there and say, look, my colleagues were the ones that helped destroy the country. We're sorry, Britain is broken. We acknowledge that. But I think they all need to do it. I think if you are defecting from the Tories, you need to make it very clear. Oh, you can't just stand back and say, well, it wasn't me. You know, I think you have to take ownership for what
I think the only thing that Jenrick, and I'm not sticking up for him, we'll be here from 10 o'clock with Julia, but the only reason that I think he's got slightly more credence is he resigned from the Cabinet on principle. And if I was the people behind Robert Jenrick, doesn't need my advice, I would be saying that the whole time because he did. There are many MPs who maintain the privilege of high office and don't speak out. He spoke out. Braverman spoke out.
I was just about to say Braverman, another person.
And I know Suella Braverman, and she's got this running through her. I'm surprised she hasn't shown her hand sooner, and I mean that, right? Say what you want. This lady had to try and deal with Rishi Sunak. He promised her, if she came back as Home Secretary, that she could attack the migration problem, which she was desperate to do, and Sunak sold her down the river. She is somebody who went. Let's get a voice note straight away. Morning, Mikey.
Morning, Jezza. Great show. I have to say I'm feeling absolutely stupendous. I am so happy at this defection. I've got no problem with big players coming across to reform.
There you go. He's happy.
Yeah.
But the other lady isn't. Roger's in Hounslow. Morning, JK and PC. PC? See what we did there? Blue Monday, yes, because Starmer and his mob of undesirables are ruining my country and have now gone full circle and turned against Trump, who is the one person that could help us in a crisis. Pete says, Boris Johnson looks more like Wurzel Gummidge every bleeding day. Nice. Mark's in Croydon. Morning, both. Every day... She's upset about it. Did you know that? Both. Sorry, I could deserve a bit more credit than that. Every day travelling on southern trains is cause for depression, but now I'm stuck just outside East Croydon. It's OK, though. Southerners sorry for the delays this might cause. What a terrible start to my day. It is Blue Monday, 6:20. We've got loads of news about the Reform Party, about Greenland, about Trump, about a Syrian migrant who's going to screw you, the taxpayer. But the most important thing, yes, it's Blue Monday, the most depressing day of the year. People are up to their eyes with debt. Christmas is gone. The weather's rubbish. What's making you depressed? This is making me depressed. I'm just going to drop this in. We're not going to cover it. Did you know that the NHS is saying there are benefits to marrying your first cousin?
Oh, God.
Really? Benefits?
Like what?
What benefits? I mean, sorry...
Access to benefits.
No, well, access... access to benefits and special needs help, I would imagine, is the best I can say. 6:20, Poppy Coburn is here. 0344 499 1000. Talk. Morning, Jez and Poppy. The only duck Nandy and the Labour Party should be worried about is the communist Peking duck from Dave in Hull. Ooh. After the break, by the way, and you can keep talking about reform, you can keep talking about how you see it all. Somebody from Bradford, Nandy is full of quackery. Very clever. I like what you're doing. I like what you're thinking. Listen, on a serious note, we're going to talk about Greenland. You've got this in your head, haven't you? And before 7, your questions to Richard Tice. I'm going to ask him a few direct questions this morning. How do the originals feel that you know, the new sheriff in town, Jenrick's arrived? How do they feel about this influx? Do they suddenly think, hold on, I set this up? I've got a money clip. I was going to be Chancellor. What's going on? Because he didn't defend. It was quite interesting when asked on Kinsberg yesterday, Richard, about, you know, Jenrick wants to be Chancellor. For me, Jenrick is an absolute shoo-in to be Home Secretary, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the job he actually wants more so than Chancellor as well.
I would have thought that.
Yeah.
6:20, this is Talk Breakfast. Back in 3.
Are you saying that you were not aware that Nigel Farage was having conversations with the Shadow Justice Secretary about him defecting to your party? Are you out of the loop, Richard?
The whole point about private is that it is private.
There's private, there's not sharing it with the world or the whole party. You're the deputy leader of the party. You gave your leadership away to get Nigel Farage back. Are you out of the loop?
I've had no discussions with Mr. Jenrick.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:23. It's Monday morning. Poppy Coburn from The Telegraph and JK on breakfast, just reviewing the papers. See, I've put you in front of me now. It's still happening. It's all about, you know, the Reform Party. Are they right to keep accepting this influx of Tories overnight? Andrew Rossendale, senior MP, actually, Romford, a former shadow Foreign Affairs Minister, quite high up, disgusted with the way the Tories have reacted to Starmer's giveaway of the Chagos Islands and 16 billion. And whenever I talk about the Chagos Islands, I do like to make this point. Do you know that every single Mauritian doesn't have to pay any income tax for the next 16 months because we've given them 16 billion? They've got no debts and they're all, you know, how does that make work, you know, the working Brit feel on a Monday? You know what I mean? Hard-working alarm clock Brits are thinking, right, OK, so the Mauritians are fine and I'm screwed.
Yeah,
great, isn't it?
I'm still furious about it. I just find it absolutely disgusting. And every time the government says we don't have enough money for this, that and the other, I always think of the Chagos Islands. We had enough money to give away our own territory.
And 16 billion, let's not forget that. Wait, 16 billion pounds. It seems that you want to talk about this. Anna on the defection, go.
Anna Surrey, for the first time in ages, I feel a sense of hope and the sinking feeling in my stomach is slightly less. So let's keep rolling Reform, and if that makes us fascists, I'm cool with that. Cheers, guys.
That's Anna. She's for it. Other people are saying, you're not about Tories. Why are you taking these people who were part of it? And in fact, when Jenrick resigned and did that very, I thought, impressive speech the other day, of course, all the good journalists found stuff that he'd said about Farage and Farage said about him. And because Christian is utterly brilliant at his job, as are the team, I should say, just listen to this. So this is what Farage said in the past about Robert Jenrick.
I don't think Nigel...
It's not going very well technically today, is it? Should we, have we got Farage's comments on Jenrick? No, it's not going very well at all. No, brilliant. OK, so just don't tell me we've got it. If we haven't got it, there we go. Live radio, how to make me look idiotic. That's just the way it goes, isn't it? Do you think that more Reform voters will favour this, or do you think more Reform voters will be against this as a party faithful?
I think it's difficult to say because it's going to depend on who's coming over. I think in the case of Jenrick, it might be fair to say more people will just be in favour than against. Yeah. I think there are going to be people that in principle don't want Tories to be in Reform, and I do completely understand that impulse. Although I suppose a lot of Reform voters will probably themselves be Tory switchers.
Well, I was going to say, to me, there's a really simple answer to this, and I would say this to Nigel's face. If you're talking about, you know, suddenly these Tory MPs have woken up and a number of people in this country, it's their opinion, say, you're just jumping ship to save your career. The reason Reform exists is because millions and millions of Conservative voters felt that the party had left them, not that they'd left the party, and they wanted a new home. So if millions of voters can move to what they believe is the right and new message, why can't MPs?
Yeah, and I
think that's relevant.
I completely agree, and it depends on the quality of the MP. This is why I think the May 7th deadline is such a good idea, because it's basically saying, look, stop differing about. This is a way to prove that you're doing it out of principle because you think Reform is going to form the next government and you want to be behind that, you want to help them, versus you want to save your own skin 1 year out to the election. The Tories haven't recovered in the polls, it's all shambles, you know you're going to lose your seat. That is really important. I think they have to pull up the drawbridge and say, look, we've got the people on side that believe in the Reform message and everyone else, sorry, but we don't want to hear it.
He said May the 7th. Is that after the elections? Or is that before? And there's a reason I asked this. I don't know the date of the local election. Well, I think it should be before, because I don't think then the argument will be, oh, you wake up in the morning, it's a Tory MP. We've been wiped out, reform. Oh, I think I'll join. I think Nigel should have said something like before. I don't know what date. Do we know what date the local elections are? Why do I have 5th? Yeah, May. When are they in May specifically? Because I'd want people to come to my side who, as you said, I felt were actually in it. It's May the 7th, you see. So he's right. So it's got to be before the elections. You're not going to see the results. If you want to do it, do it. Loads of response to this morning. 87222 and your voice notes. Morning, Chris.
Love you too, Jezza. On a serious note, I was in two minds whether to vote Reform or Conservative. However, once Reform got Robert Jenrick, that's made my mind up. It's got to be Reform now. He's the man.
It's interesting, so those people, but so much responses. Good morning, Poppy. A ray of sunshine through this misty, horrible blue Monday. Hello as well, I suppose, Jez, says Sam in Barnsley. Joe's in... Oh, stop it. Joe's in Norfolk. Morning, Jez. No mention of you. I know, childhood, we've become... I don't see any problem with Conservatives coming over because most of us who are Reform voters are ex-Conservatives that changed our mind. Those that peel off to Bem, Habib, etc. will just leave the door open for Labour again. Reform and Habib Party and Rupert Lowe need to unite. That's never going to happen. No, it's never going to happen at all. Keith's in Sheffield. Morning, Keithy. I hope Richard Tice realises how important it is to make clear the reasons why each ex-Tory has been accepted into the party. If this isn't done, then I think Reform will end up losing support. Interesting point. Paul's already left England. He's in Germany. Good morning, Jez. I asked myself, have the Conservative Party been true Conservatives over the past years? No. Are Reform the true Conservatives? I think they are. Great show. That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah. That's also, is this the successor party to the Conservatives? Is this where people who sit on the centre-right go to for their politics? I think that's what Reform's going to achieve. And I understand the scepticism about some Tories within the party, because some of them truly are very, very, very bad. They are still within the Conservative Party now. They are people who gladly helped to destroy the country over 14 years in government and are not apologetic about it. But there are good people within the Tories. There really are, who sincerely care.
And this is a really interesting point from Bill in Romsey. Morning, Bill. He says he heard Nigel Farage intimate that there will be a Labour defection on Monday or Tuesday. I can actually verify that, but I'm not going any further. But... he said, do you notice he didn't say an MP, a high-ranking Labour person? Yeah. He says that this would balance the argument in many people's minds that it's just become a home for Tories. I believe, well, I sort of think that, well, I know, yeah, anyway, there will be a Labour defection this week. That will play a part as well, won't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Do you know who the rumours are?
I have heard some of the rumours at work.
Are you prepared to talk about them on air?
I mean, I suppose I can. I don't know if this is completely right. You're clearly the person in the know, but I heard it might be Kate Hoey as the latest
she was asked the other day, and Kate Hoey, who's on this station a lot, I have to say, she was very much for leave. She stood up, but she hasn't been a member of the Labour Party
for a very long
8
time.
years.
So that's why I thought Labour figure sounds quite ambiguous.
She's not an MP, but he didn't say that. He said a high-ranking Labour. Do you know who? Do you know one of the most outspoken Labour? And this is, by the way, I don't know, but I had this thought over the weekend. Who'd been very, very anti the immigration problems and has blamed them. You know, David Blunkett's been very, very outspoken against the Labour Party. I thought maybe somebody like Blunkett, if you got somebody like Blunkett who'd held cabinet posts and has some sort of, you know, a role, I think. But listen, I don't know. But I do think most people would believe that if there was that influx as well, just a couple of names. But I do think, listen, get your thoughts in, but I do think it's relevant to point out, as you did, Pops, that actually millions of people have moved from the Tory party to Reform because the Tory party isn't that Tory party anymore. Good God. Sarah Clark, so many messages. I'm a Reform member since November 22. So long as they're the right Tories, they're welcome. There is no other party emerging that is capable or credible of becoming a party in power. I think that Habib and Lowe are amazing allies on the right, but they will not be in office in their current guise. The answer, says Sarah from South Lincolnshire, has always been for me. Reform. John's from Angus. Do you know where Angus is?
Scotland.
Well done. Good morning, Poppy. Good morning, Jeremy. I would just like to appeal to the Reform members who were worried some Conservatives might be taking over. It's a fraction of the number of MPs we need to find to fight the fight next election. We need to find 600 candidates and a whole lot more for the Welsh and Scottish elections. They will come from all sorts of backgrounds who want to put this country first. Now, just to answer you, John, in my guise as an independent broadcaster, I spent last weekend interviewing 200 would-be MPs in a TV studio for the Senedd in Scotland and the Scottish Parliament. Malcolm Orford, of course, since then has been announced as the Scottish leader. And this is me being totally honest. I thought 80%, well, we passed 80% of them. I thought the quality was far better than I ever imagined. I don't mean to be disrespectful, I'm being honest. I thought there was a freshness about them. Yeah. There were younger people, older people, there were women, there were men, there were diverse backgrounds, and they all had this message. And I was blown away by how good they were. So there's that balance between bringing in new blood, or you haven't got any experience, and taking some good people. But I think the criteria has to be, as you said, how good are they and what can they bring to reform?
Completely. It's got to be a quid pro quo. Like, what can you bring to this party that wants to change the government? You know, and frankly, if you've got too much, you know, metaphorical blood on your hands, I mean, if you have got behind too many truly stupid schemes, then I think Reform should just say, no, we don't want you. Because it can't just be this May 7th deadline, if you want to jump now. It has to be selective to a certain extent. Reform doesn't actually want people who are rubbish.
No,
you know, they've got enough,
as
you said, they've got enough really fantastic people.
I promise you, I was amazed, and this sounds a terrible thing to say. I was amazed at how good the quality was. Really good.
And I think you see it across the country. You've got people who never would have thought to get involved in politics, who are now standing up and saying, I want to get my voice heard. And those people deserve to have a chance.
I saw a boy of 26 whose nan, anyway, he told this story, but he spoke so brilliantly from the heart. I saw a woman who was really, really nervous, and I wouldn't name her because it was embarrassing, and she'd sort of thought, I can't do this, and she was a teacher from Wales. And the minute she started talking about how education in Wales now under Labour is about, it's not about winning, about taking part. It's not about reading, writing, it was making sure that diversity works. And she was so passionate. Brilliant local MP. So whilst we get obviously seduced by the generics and other people, I think Reform has to find that balance between experience and also saying, this is new, none of us have done this before. All you buggers have done this for years and you've messed it up.
Yeah, completely. You know, you've got to have a fresh start. And that does mean fresh people to a certain extent. Again, like, reward some people, let them come in if they are sincerely wanting to help. But for a lot of them, it's going to have to be a no.
Oh, God, honestly, whenever you're with me, I'm trying to talk politics, I get sidetracked. We're going to move to Greenland in a minute, very quickly. Sean's in Bradwell. Good morning to the lovely Poppy, and I suppose you, JK. I wouldn't worry too much with certain Tories moving to Reform. You've got to play the political game, as long as it's not all former Tories. Let's see what Nigel's statement is on Tuesday regarding another defection. That'll be 11 o'clock, by the way. Talk, Gary and Bolden. All those people saying they won't vote Reform as they're taking too many Tories, they do realise they're splitting the vote and allowing these crazy lefties to remain. Gary Phillips, morning, Jez. Just heard the message you read out from a former Reformer. Got to say, they really do not get it. Reform needs experienced right-of-centre politicians. Whether they agree with Nigel or not, they should trust him as he knows what he's doing. I hear a lot of noise about Rupert and Ben, who both in their own way have good qualities, but they will never get enough votes to oust this left-wing government. Kate Heiner in the Wirral has sent a picture. Oh, my God. Poppy the puppy.
Aww.
Really? Reform. Happy for us to take on any true Conservatives. In an ideal world, Ben, Rupert and Nigel need to put their egos to one side and be true, but don't worry about that. This is Poppy the puppy.
That's so sweet. See, Blue Monday, we're getting little pictures of puppies.
It is Blue Monday if you're waking up. Poppy reminds me it's the day of the year that's the most depressing. We got no money, Christmas over, the weather's what's making you blue on a Monday? And it doesn't mean you've been watching Pornhub. 8722. Hi, Poppy. Hi, Poppy. The Advance are nowhere near a proper party and a wasted vote, in my opinion, says Carl. Absolutely no mention now. I'm honestly, in the space of 9 days, when you come in, I'm not even mentioned on my own show anymore. Morning, Poppy. Christ. Thank goodness for Bojo. He shows me what the Tories are, a bunch of wets that I will never vote for, says Paul in Dorset. Stephen's in Durham this morning. Good morning, Steve. He says, morning, Jezza, and your sidekick. Well done, good
There
lad.
we go.
I'm joking. I actually really made that up. That's how sad is that?
Oh, my God.
I know. I didn't mention you at all. Morning, Jez. Hearing Boris there just confirms it's one big uniparty as Starmer comes out with the same Russian line. Boring, thank you. And finally, for now, because I want to move on, Dave and Con. Morning, Poppy, and that old chap. I don't care as long as they hold Reform's ideas and values. Isn't Kate Hoey an independent? No, I just hope that the breakfast clubs sometimes work. Every morning this man says to me, what about a breakfast club? We were promised a big Mark who works on the show. When I say big, it's it's a compliment, but we won't go into that. He wants a breakfast club. You came in this morning, 23 minutes to 7 o'clock. You didn't talk about reform. You talked about Greenland. Talk to me.
Yeah. I literally said that I'd been up all night reading about it, which I know might come across as strange, but I was completely hooked. So I don't like it when people are reflexively anti-Trump. I really don't like it. And I've never been that way myself. I've always tried to defend the stuff he does, because he often does turn out to be right. But on Greenland, I do think we have quite a bit of cause for concern. So America has made it clear that they are not backing down over their claims to Greenland over the Danish. They've now slapped 10% tariffs on all the countries who sent soldiers. And I mean, soldiers is a bit misleading. Soldier. I think the UK sent one soldier to go to walk around Greenland.
One in.
On a commercial flight, who didn't have any guns, just turned up, had a walk around and then came back. Seriously,
Brilliant.
I'm not joking.
Well done, that's the army for you.
Although, to be fair, the reason why these 8 countries did this was not to say a show of strength. It was to say, look, we are willing to take Greenland's defence seriously, because that's the argument the Americans have been making. If Russia or China want to take Greenland, then you can't defend it. Well, that's a load of rubbish, because the Americans already got their military bases there. They can defend it very easily themselves. What they actually want is access to the mineral rights. They just want to have it. Trump's got it in his head, he wants to have Greenland. The Danes are saying no, so we're now at an impasse. The reason I'm so concerned is because last night I was thinking, he's treating us like Venezuela, which is we are a tin pot, weak power that talks a big game but can't actually show up for ourselves.
It's true, isn't it?
And it's true. And that's what I find so upsetting about this, because I don't want Europe to be humiliated, and I'm considering us as being part of the continent of Europe here. I don't want us to be humiliated, actually, because I think what Trump does is he says, I'm looking out for the American people, and that's his prerogative. Why are our politicians not looking out for our interests? Because what they've done is they've allowed our defence capacities to be degraded to such an extent
over 20 years
that we cannot fight off the Russians in Ukraine, and we may not be able to fight off the Americans in Greenland.
OK, let me play devil's advocate, but I actually agree with you in part. I don't agree with everything that Donald Trump does. I'm going to use the example of defence budgets, GDP. If you're America and you're spending billions defending Europe, and Europe has, as you've quite rightly just said, not really put their hand in their pocket. I felt when he first came to power, he was trying to get them to move the dial by threatening them. And it worked.
It has worked.
Ticked, right? I'm also going to be outspoken. I'm not sure NATO is relevant in 2026 as much as they believe that it is. Now, if you're Donald Trump, yes, you've got this globalist view, and I don't have to agree with that at all. I'm with you. You can clear up the messes of the world, but this is a sovereign country. But here's the thing. Is this him just winding them up to the point, because he's done it before with tariffs, where he gets the defence of Greenland or what he wants from them? Maybe it is minerals, I don't know, but maybe he wants more than that. I just feel like he calls the shots. We see on page 2 of the Sun today, Keir's Greenland D-Day with Trump. Sir Keir Starmer made a forceful call. That's tosh. He wouldn't have made a forceful call in his life. I think that Trump's been allowed to be how he is, if you want me to be honest, because there's not a leader in Europe that's got the cojones to stand up to the man. I really believe that.
Look at the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, basically saying nothing. You know, the European Union basically saying nothing, just bending over because they don't want to cause any issues. I mean, he will not respect us if we don't act like a superpower.
But the truth of the matter is, you nailed it when you said we've cut back our military for years, we've cut back what we put into NATO. Why would the man who puts all the money in and has all the troops be taking any words from a bunch of acolytes who are basically I'm not in any way sticking up for Trump, but for him it's about the deal. And he'll do this. This is what he'll do. Right, Greenland. 5 billion America, 1 billion 14 others. Sodom, I'm going to call the shots. I genuinely mean that.
I think the problem is with Denmark itself. Denmark has been giving the funding. Like, it has been providing the funding. Not only has it done that, it's been a fantastic ally to the Americans. More Danes died per capita in the Iraq war than the American soldiers themselves.
It's true.
They have been a complete steadfast ally. I know that's not true of every European country. But the problem is we all get tarred with the same brush if we don't come together and unify and understand we've got to get strong again.
Well, they say that NATO is heading for disaster. EU aims 81 billion trade bazooka at America. What's that?
Yeah, so this is the non-coercion clause. It's an instrument that I think was really designed to be used against the Russians, but now is being used against another NATO member potentially. It's a very painful set of sanctions. It also denies access for American companies to the European market, which is the largest single market in the world.
They're not going to do that to him, though, because they need American money. This is what I'm saying. He's calling the shots, man.
Genuinely, they should. Because they are not going to be respected by Trump unless they stand their ground. And they cannot stand their ground militarily because we have degraded our military function. Completely. So let's hurry up, spend our money on not throwing it down the drain on welfare and actually spend it on rearming. And in the meantime, let's tell Trump that we are not pushovers, we are not Venezuela, we are not some tin pot, third world dictatorship. We will be taken seriously. But look at our leadership class. And here's the other thing that concerns me. Look at Mark Carney in Canada. When Trump said that he was going to make Canada the 51st state, and they kept joking around about it, and the Canadians understandably got very upset, that stopped the right-wing leader from getting in. Mark Carney got in instead, and now he's making deals with the Chinese. That's what worries me. Is this going to help Keir Starmer? Is this going to help Macron? Is this going to help the Eurocrats stay in power? They get to play around like they're the nationalists.
Farage came out, didn't he, and said that Trump was wrong, and we need to stand up for ourselves.
Yeah, I think he's right. I really do think he's right.
It's really interesting times and worrying for many. Love your thoughts on that as well. 0344 499 1000. Has Trump lost his marbles? Does Europe, does NATO in its entirety need to stand up and be stronger? Oh, God. Question for Richard Tice is on the show, by the way, after 7 o'clock. How did he manage to pull Isabel Oakeshott, punching above his weight? That's not what your questions are supposed to be about. Good morning, Jez. Good morning, Poppy. Chris in Hornchurch. Back to the defection. I cancelled my Reform membership. We were told from the start it was meant to be a grassroots party. I see it, says Chris in Hornchurch, now as the Tories 2.0. And also Mark from Bristol. Good morning, Talk Breakfast. Wow. Brains, beauty, and some old git called Jezza as well. Fantastic. Morning, Carl.
Morning, Jeremy. Carl from Coventry, yeah. I was a bit concerned, to tell you the truth, about these Conservatives coming over to Reform, being a Reform member myself. Having thought about it, at the end of the day, it must be hard when you're in a party of left and right, and they're arguing amongst each other. So, yeah, we want to take the ones that are more on the right. They're welcome to come over to Reform. As long as we're not going to start getting the ones that are, left-wing Conservatives that are going to come in and try and spoil the party.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:45. You would talk as the home of Alarm Clock Brits. It's where the nation comes to speak. Morning, welcome to Monday. It's Blue Monday, by the way. So I've got a blue shirt on. It's the most depressing day of the year. You're up to your eyes in debt. Your wife or your husband's not talking to you. The weather's... the kids are a nightmare. On Blue Monday, what is depressing you? 87222. Poppy Coburn. She couldn't depress anybody. You are the show, it seems. What?
I'm just laughing. I'm laughing. You're clenching your fist in rage.
I couldn't care at all. Do you know, honestly, I'm that old. I couldn't give a fat rat's backside. Listen, Kitty. Why do I always think? Every time I hear this woman's name, I want to tell you about this amazing thing I saw online from an Australian news programme, but I can't because I get sacked. Kitty. This is what she thinks of Lisa Nandy calling Reform fascists.
Good morning, Jezza. Kitty from Kent here. So for Lisa Nandy to
call reform fascist when she is in a government that is actively cancelling democracy, millions and millions of votes, that has gone against everything in its manifesto and is delivering stuff outside its manifesto that the British people do not want, that is going against our judicial system and increasing crime and basically anything against the history and the indigenous people of Britain, and that's trying to destroy everything. She has got a bloody cheek and she needs to be ignored. Have a lovely day.
There you go, she's got it right. I'm going to tell you this story now. This is not me trying to be anything other than straight. Are you ready? There's two stories I need your comments on. One is this. Health bosses are investigating after it emerged that NHS midwives were taught about the potential benefits of marrying your cousin. Despite the practice increasing the risks of birth defects, official midwifery guidance used for teaching branded concerns about the risks of congenital disease or birth defects exaggerated and unwarranted because 90% of cousins who have children do not have affected children. The national average rate for children born without congenital disease is 98%. So if you marry your cousin, there's a 9 in 10 chance that your kid will be normal.
Oh, wow, those fantastic odds, aren't they? I guess we should all just go around, marry our cousins and having... I mean, this is disgusting. Coming from the NHS, genuinely, this is disgusting.
It just about sums up the NHS, doesn't it? I mean, it just about sums up what am I doing with my life?
Female genital mutilation is just a cultural practice. So...
And what are you supposed to do if you don't fancy your cousin? Go online? It's an absolute nightmare. What if your cousin's a munter?
Well, hopefully you have a few cousins to choose from.
Well, I've only got one. And that's not going to happen. And also the other story, which is equally awful, on page 9 of the Mail, a nurse suspended for calling a transgender paedophile mister while treating them as a patient could be sacked for speaking out about her ordeal.
Oh, this is a horrific case. This is really awful because this has been rumbling on for some time. I mean, like, nurses have to deal with enough rubbish. They get plenty of abuse from the general public. But actually having to lie as part of your job, and actually it reminds me of the case of the Fife nurses, who one of whom was they tried to sack her because she didn't want to go into the women's changing room with a man, and she was nearly fired for that.
I honestly, I struggle with this and I'll probably be slaughtered. I don't want my teenage daughters going to a female changing room where a person takes down their trousers and they've got a penis. Sorry. Why do these people think that that is such an outrageous thing to say?
Yeah, and also why
do
they want to do it so badly? I mean, what's the obsession with getting into women's toilets and women's changing rooms?
Well, you have to question that, don't you? Oh, no, you can't be disrespectful to that community. What, really? Do you remember, I've told this before, I think Christian would remember, there was a midwife, did 28 years somewhere in England, and when the baby came out, honestly, and she said to this, you know this story, she said, a couple, congratulations, you've got a beautiful baby boy. And they complained and said it wasn't up to the midwife to define what sex the child was, and she got a written warning and she just resigned in pure horror that the world's gone mad.
Yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You've got a lovely baby human being. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's utterly absurd. Why are we punishing medical professionals for telling the truth? Look, that's actually what they're doing. They're just telling the truth.
But I suppose on Blue Monday, officially it's Blue Monday, and it's a terrible, terrible time of the year for many people. I suppose there might be a spring in somebody's step this morning, thinking at least I can go and have sex with my cousin. You know what I mean? So that's something we've learnt on the Jeremy Kyle Talk Breakfast Show this morning. You have a 9 in 10 chance of it being all right. Back in 3.
we no longer have a prime minister in any sort of normal sense of the word. We have a spectre. Keir Starmer. He has no plan. He has no strategy.
Are you surprised at how bad it's gone?
I cannot. I genuinely struggle to align the Keir Starmer we are seeing as Prime Minister with the Keir Starmer who was leader of the opposition.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 8 minutes to 7 o'clock. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Morning, Jeremy. Dave from Manchester. Regarding all the Tory MPs that are trying to jump ship, I think we need to give a lot of confidence. We've got to get a lot of kudos and credit to Dr. David Bull, Richard Tice and Nigel Farage himself. I'm assuming they're going to be receiving a lot of interest in joining their party, and it puts them in a great position where they get to cherry pick the best ones that fit their values, that will toe the party line. Yes, they may be ambitious, but they have to realise this is Dr. Bull's and Nigel Farage's party, and they are in charge.
I have to give a shout out to my mate as well. David Bull's done a fantastic job as chairman of Reform. He's toured this country and he will continue to do so. He'll be on this show regularly this week or next week for that half an hour. But he's done such a great job, David, and fair play to them. That's another point. You know, you can be anti it or pro it. Loads of response. Jezza Nigel's picking his team to run the country, picking the best and most qualified people from all parties. He's like a football manager. That's the way it is. People will have an opinion. Morning, Poppy. I love listening to you and that other bloke. I think Trump has gone balmy over Greenland. He'll alienate the USA if he's not careful. That's Mary in Canterbury. Morning to Stuart Brown. That Greenland flag is crap. Somebody needs to take over the country and a nice Union Jack would look a lot better there. Fine. John says Europe will talk tough right up until Trump sanctions Europe with US tech. Cut off routers and servers, Amazon, Oracle and the continent is suddenly scrambling, heading back to the Stone Age in a week. Europe can posture, but the leverage, I'm afraid, sits in Washington. We're talking about reform and we're talking about defections, but then if you look at the Mail, page 11, right, this story, MP splashes out on recording studio for his own podcast at taxpayers' expense. This is brilliant. Everyone seems to be doing a podcast these days. Chris McDonald, about £1,000 the taxpayers paid so he can have a nice podcast studio in his flat.
£1,000? I mean, that's actually probably quite a good deal at the end of the day. But why do we want to hear from these MPs? Can someone remind me? Because I would actually pay for them to be quiet, if possible. So I would gladly give some of my taxpayer money away to silence them.
And I think on Blue Monday we should do a mention to my mate. Not everybody will like this, but Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan went out for dinner on Saturday night, me old mucker, and he fell on a stone step in a restaurant in London. And as it's Piers, he didn't just fall, he broke the top of his hip and he's had to have his hip removed. Literally 60 years of age. He's going to be on crutches for weeks. No, I'm joking. And we're going to try and get him on the show later because he's in hospital bed looking very, very miserable. But he's got a brand new hip, Morgan has, look. And bizarrely, he pinned the blame on Donald Trump. I like the way they say pinned. You think they pinned his leg? Cracking start to the new year, isn't it?
I like the quote. It says, falling like, in quotes, a sack of spuds.
Well, he is like a sack of spuds, to be fair. And the only good thing... No, I'm being completely honest, and I'd say it to his face. The only good thing about being in hospital, he might lose a bit of timber, to be honest. Do you know what I mean?
Bloody hell.
I suspect that he fell over because his body weight... When I'm joking, bless him. We wish him the best, and we're going to try and get him on later. Certainly not on camera, because it's a shocking picture anyway. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Looks terrible.
Yeah.
So, Poppy... Just don't even get mentioned anymore. Poppy, the UK, along with the EU, do not want to extract minerals and fuels from Greenland due to climate policies. And this says Jezza and Big P.
I'm not sure I like that
Sorry,
one.
what does that mean? Every day is bloody depressing these days. Do you think every day is depressing?
Oh, I think I've got a too happy attitude to the world. I'm still optimistic things can get sorted out.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Let's sum it up then. Another senior Tory has defected to Reform after Jenrick last Thursday. Andrew Rossendale, MP for Romford and former Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, has left as well. You fall on which side? Do Reform need to stop it? Do they need experience? We'll have Jenrick with Julia Hartley-Brewer from 10 o'clock this morning, which would be fantastic. But all these other people.
Too many would be a problem.
What's too many? You knew I was going to ask that, didn't you?
Well, I mean, I know a handful of good Tories. A handful.
Suella Braverman, we think will go.
Yeah, and I mean that. I mean, literally, I think about 5.
Is she on that list?
Yeah, Suella Braverman is definitely.
Do you want to name
the
rest of them on the list?
A few of them I won't name because I don't want to make things awkward for them, because
Okay.
I know they're on the fence at the moment. But I know a few good Tories who are thinking about doing it and might make that move before May the 7th. I think for the majority, though, they can stay.
and I think that point is very relevant. It's balance. I think you're right, Poppy, because it's balance between experienced and people who are committed to what Reform see as their cause. I said something earlier on. We, as an independent broadcaster, I interviewed 200 plus MPs last weekend in a studio with David Bull for the Senedd in Wales and the Scottish elections, and I was blown away by the quality of those candidates. So I think it's really important that Reform, if it is going to do anything, is finding that balance.
Yeah.
But I do think that Jenrick's a game changer. I do think that his kudos, you know, of course they'll say, oh, he's this, he's that. That's politics, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think Farage came across very well. He was like, when he was doing the press conference, he was like, look, we've both said rude things about each other. That's the game. Like,
I'm not going to play that again. Finally, we've only got 1 minute. A fugitive Syrian migrant who fled to Britain after sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl in Germany and moved into a taxpayer-funded hotel. This is a Blue Monday story. Is fighting deportation, and you're paying it for the sake of his human rights. He claims a tribal feud in Syria, which had spilled over into Germany, meant his life would be at risk if he, the sex offender, was sent back there. So he's using our taxpayers' money to fight for freedom in the British courts.
Yeah, this story is incredibly frustrating because the government has been saying, well, we've put these safeguards and checks in place that if you have a previous offence elsewhere in Europe, then we will stop you at the border and we'll let you come in. Well, apparently not, because you know what these checks actually mean? It's if you write your name down, they'll check that name. But of course, if you've got no official documents and you write a different name, they go, all right then, well, no criminal record for this person, on you go, onto your, you know,
Can you come here
hotel.
every morning? I just think we should get her on every morning. It's brilliant. We loved having you on. Thank you so much
thank
indeed.
you.
The geek that is Poppy Coburn, who spent all night reading about Greenland. We love her. She'll be back Monday at 6 o'clock for the paper review. We're heading to the news, and the Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice, live and exclusive. What do you want to ask him? 87222. Start your message of the word talk. Richard Tice, live and exclusive on Talk after the news at 7, which is next.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth, Super Bowl 60, and you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for 2 to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
It's the UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Welcome back. It is Talk Breakfast. JK here until 10 on the home of common sense. It's where alarm clock Brits come to have their say. So much in the news. On the way, the Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice, just to tick. So much going on about, so much noise about Reform. Another senior Tory overnight, Andrew Rossendale, the MP for Romford, and a former shadow minister in the Foreign Office. He's overnight said, I'm off to Reform. I don't like the way the Tories have responded to that ridiculous sell-off of the Chagos Islands to the Mauritian people and the money that went with it. We've got Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, saying that basically Reform, if it looks like a duck and it sounds sounds like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. I don't know what that means. That sums up the government for me. She thinks they're all fascists. We've got Keir Starmer apparently standing up to Donald Trump about Greenland. I don't want you to invade. Actually, talking of which, it is Blue Monday. If you are waking up, Blue Monday is the most depressing day of the year. All of you are supposed to be suffering from Christmas blues, heavily in debt, and the weather's rubbish. And I thought that in the spirit of Blue Monday, it would be a very good idea to play you a little bit of Keir Starmer's speech live at 9 o'clock when he addresses... Is he addressing the nation or is he just addressing his family? Oh, he's addressing the nation. That'll be really exciting. I might play you 30 seconds. And could I just point out to the cynics amongst you, Blue Monday doesn't mean that we're giving out ways that you can get on Pornhub. I'd like to point that out. 87222 on the text, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to say, or you can leave a voice note. 0344 499 1000. We'll say a very good morning to Dan. Morning, Dan.
Good morning, Jeremy. It's Dan from Kent. Got a question for Richard Tice. I understand the need for, as a party, we need experience if we become the next government. So my question is, how do we separate the wheat from the chaff? Because I'm concerned that we'll just become a lifeboat for failing parties. It's important to me that we bring in experience like Robert Jenrick, but I don't want politicians that are concerned they're going to lose their job in the next election.
Let's put that to the main man himself and say a very good morning to Reform's Deputy Leader, Richard Tice. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Very good morning to you. I am well, and my response to that excellent question from Dan is this. We've rejected a good number of soggy Lib Dem style Conservative MPs or former ones, and I would just ask you to trust us. We will only accept people who believe in our principles, our values. People like Robert Jenrick and Andrew Rosendale absolutely are in that category, and delighted to welcome Andrew last night. He's someone who has stood up very strongly for the Chagossians against this dreadful Chagos deal, which is being voted on and debated this week in the House of Commons. He will be leading the charge on that. Also, he stood up very strongly, like all of us, for our veterans, our brave veterans, in particular this dreadful Northern Ireland Troubles Bill that the government is pushing through to try and basically expose our service personnel, both current and veterans, to prosecutions. All of these terrible things coming from the government, and Andrew's very strong on that. So, Dan, trust us. We hear you, and we're absolutely on the same page.
When you say you hear, mate, and we go back a while, let me be honest with you. So the Zahawi thing was 50-50. OK, most people were wrapped up, I think, in the vaccine debate, and I don't want to get involved in that. This is about the future of this country. That's done. Jenrick, to me, we finished on Thursday, the breakfast show, shot off, and then all of that news happened, and I watched it with quite a lot of interest. I thought his speech was, when he eventually got to the lectern, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was quality, and I thought that he, as a sort of person, would bring real depth to reform, complementing what you've already got. You were on Koensberg yesterday because, of course, the other big story about Jenrick is, you know, I'm the new sheriff in town, apparently. He's saying he didn't say this, and I want this and I want that. People are writing that he's going to be the next Chancellor. Now, I'm a little bit confused about this because I've seen your money clip, Tice, and I know that if there's anybody that can look after the country's finances as well as his own, you're the man. Can I ask you a genuine question? The old guard, as I now call them, the original five, there must be, I mean, I know there's a public face, but there must be, hold on a minute, we've been here for 3 years digging this furrow and these buggers just come in and they're getting all the credit. There must be that feeling amongst you, or is it just elation as the swelling of the party grows? Be honest with me.
Absolutely, and I don't use the language that you've just used because we knew and know that we've got to grow, we've got to show people that we can deal with the concerns about experience, ministerial experience, civil service, dealing with the blob, or all of that. If you get that criticism and you then deal with it, it's almost as though we can't win. And look, we understand people's issues around some of the points raised about Nadeem Zahawi, but again, that was focused around his experience and his international connections, which are also very important when you're aspiring to run a country. And likewise, Robert has got considerable experience, and they believe in what we believe in. So,
and I think that the
real point is actually, in a sense, we've all got great talents. We could all fulfil a number of jobs, and all of that will be sort of confirmed and concluded over the next, the coming months. Our real focus at the moment actually is on preparing for the May elections, where, by the way, we're allowed to have them. Some 4 million people, including many talk listeners and viewers, being denied the right to vote. So that's really what our focus is, and we're just delighted that we're growing. I think you should assume that there's a lot more growth to happen.
I think most people would know where I stand, but the job is that I have to do it correctly. Greg in Sheffield, happy Blue Monday. Please tell Richard, if there's any more Tory defections, I'm done. I'm going to cancel my membership. Now, we can see, I mean, that's a genuine concern from somebody who's been part of it. And so the balance for me is the important thing. You're criticised if you don't have experience, and then you're criticised if you take people. But I don't know if this helps you. This is how I saw it, and I said it earlier. The Conservative Party left me, actually. The Conservative Party went in a different direction. Reform became a party that I think myself and many people around me will go, that has the values that I was brought up on. So what's wrong with MPs who perhaps were part of something for what they believed in, but that's moved, and thus their beliefs and their core values now are represented by Reform? Isn't that a true point?
Look, it is a true point, and I would just say to your previous listener, I think, was it Rob from Sheffield? It's the same response with Dan. Trust us, we've set a deadline of May the 7th. It's about quality, it's about helping the bigger picture and ensuring that people have the confidence that when there's a general election, let's hope it's sooner rather than 3.5 years' time, that actually we will be able to convince the country that we've got the breadth, the depth, the experience, the range of talents across the range of jobs that we can hit the ground running. And that's what we're very, very focused on.
May the 7th deadline that Nigel talked about, which I think is a really good thing, that's before the elections take place. Basically, you're not going to sit there, wet Tories and Labour thinking, oh, my God, I've woken up the day after the elections, the local elections and Reformer barnstorming, I want to join. You've got to show your colours before the electorate goes to the polls, right?
Absolutely. That's the deadline. And I understand that people may be concerned, well, do I want one more, two more, whatever? I would just say to people, trust us. We know what we're doing. We've got a clear strategy. And at these May elections, they are massive. The Tory party will be wiped out in Scotland and effectively in Wales. The Labour Party will have their worst result for years. And there's every prospect that there will be a change of leadership of the Labour Party shortly after that. This is a seismic moment. Things are moving at great speed, but we are businesslike, we are entrepreneurial, we are focused on all the things around saving money, cutting daft regulations so that we can have performance-related tax cuts, we can motivate work so that we can make families, communities more prosperous, and that's how you make the country more prosperous.
I know there seems to be this
core objective.
I know there seems to be this fixation on the defections, but I think it's quite an important point, and there's been so much response to it. I can see it from both angles. I said earlier, the work I did last weekend, the 200 would-be MPs for the Senate and for the Scottish Parliament, blew my mind as to the quality of them. So it's actually finding that balance between experience and saying to people who want to join Reform, you can stand. Please could you ask Richard Tice, would he take Jacob Rees-Mogg for Reform?
I'm not giving you a running commentary on every single name. That would be a fool's errand.
When's the Labour defection, said lots of people? When's the Labour defection, say lots of people, promised by Nigel, or was it a bluff? Lots of people texting that.
Yes, there is. We are in discussions with a number of people from the left who are also deeply patriotic, actually believe in the core values of the nation state, of hard work, alarm clock Britain, strong defence, industrial strategy.
Can we definitely expect a Labour defection this? Can we definitely expect a Labour defection this week, Richard Tice?
Just patience is a virtue, Jeremy. There's always
talking about patience.
Sometimes you never quite know how events play out. I mean,
well, listen.
Thursday was an interesting day in terms of choreography.
Nigel said there would be one by Tuesday, didn't he?
Yes, he did, and just patience is a virtue. Whether it's Tuesday, whether it's a different day, who knows?
Sean from Bradwell, he's doing my job for me. He says Richard Tice talks about patience. Has he bought Isabel a ring yet? Get in there, Sean from Bradwell. Have we got to tell Isabel Oakeshott patience is a virtue? Have you bought the ring yet?
Look, some things have to be between couples, but I would say to your previous listener before 7 o'clock who said I was very lucky, they're absolutely right.
I know you are.
I am very lucky indeed. I would just hope that also she's a little bit lucky as well.
Wow, well, she's on at 8. We'll be talking rings. Let's move on. Maybe talk as well about, on a serious note, we've talked about defections. And my overall view is the fact is reform is in the news and on the tip of everybody's tongue, which says an awful lot about the impact that you guys have had in a very, very short space of time. The Trump row with Greenland, I'm really interested here. NATO apparently heading for disaster. UK's official warning as Starmer tells US President he's wrong. That should have been an interesting call. And the EU aims its $81 billion bazooka trade war at America. Where do you stand on this? Is this posturing by Trump to get Europe, as he did with defence spending, to put their hands in their pockets? Is he genuine? Because Nigel said, I think over the weekend, you need to be careful. There are things that are not yours. And I think that's probably, well, I know that's very true. Where do you stand on this, Richard?
Well, both Nigel and I over the weekend have clearly said that whilst the concept of making sure that China and Russia can have no presence in and around Greenland is critical to all NATO allies, the US has already actually got, and has had since 1951, a presence in Greenland of varying size, and it operates alone there. It can increase its forces in northwest Greenland as much as it wants. That's already agreed within NATO allies. If the president wanted additional NATO contributions to that, of course, that would be sensibly discussed, and I'm sure something could be agreed. So the approach the president is taking is not the right approach. It's the wrong approach. We're all united on that. And that's what friendship actually is about. You say, when you're getting things right, you say, well done, that's great. But also when you've got something wrong, and none of us are perfect, even you, Jeremy, when you've got something wrong, then you have to be told, and that's the way it works.
I wonder if you do get into government, whether you'll still maintain that sense of humour. You better. Hi, Jez. Please ask Richard on a serious note if Reform will have candidates standing in Northern Ireland. I live in Northern Ireland. I'm a Reform voter.
Thank you very much. And all of that is work in progress as to the right thing to do in Northern Ireland, which is a very important part of the United Kingdom. It suffered under the dreadful Northern Ireland Protocol and Windsor Framework. We liaise closely with elected representatives from the DUP, with Jim Allister. So look, all of that is work in progress.
There's a story this morning that even you will struggle with, a man of such brilliance. Health bosses are investigating after it emerged that the NHS midwives basically, have you seen this story, were taught about the potential benefits of cousin marriage, despite the practice increasing the risks of birth defects. Official midwifery guidance used for teaching branded concerns about the risks of congenital disease exaggerated and unwanted. It says that 90% of cousin couples do not have affected children. Where are we getting to with our NHS? That is something that so many people, if reform got in, are so hacked off with. It is ludicrous. It's disgusting and wrong, isn't it?
It's all of those things. It is wrong, it's disgusting, and we wouldn't tolerate it. And why Wes Streeting is tolerating this nonsense, he needs to come out very strongly and say this is completely wrong. I mean, there was an MP in Parliament who stood up and said that he was for cousin marriage, and it's just...
Well, Streeting's in that. Streeting's gutless because he should be doing something about my other pet hate. Those puberty blockers, those tests on those 200 kids is an absolute stain on our society. And what do you expect from a Labour government that does nothing about that? This is another disgusting thing. You're telling a midwife that she has to... I mean, what does that say, Richard, for normality? I'm sorry if that's not the right word.
Streeting knows that the puberty blocker experiment is wrong, and he just needs to have more courage, more bravery, particularly if he wants to be leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister, which could well be the case within the next few months. He needs to show some more cojones, frankly, and tell it as it is. And these things are completely wrong, and we wouldn't tolerate it. A reform government would go back to common sense, decency, and family values.
This is for you from Sean in Gloucester. This is, I mean, and this is serious. He says, can you tell Richard that the NHS is one of the main reasons, you know, I want reform to make changes? I'm a 55, you're going to laugh, Richard, but this is dreadful. I'm a 55-year-old, 6'2", 17-stone ex-rugby player, but when I went to hospital, they asked me if I could be pregnant and were shocked when I refused to answer. Honest to Christ, what is going on with our world?
Is it April the 1st, Jeremy? I mean,
no.
I
mean, it's just ludicrous.
This is bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And it's bonkers, but B, imagine all of the people who've been sat in rooms sort of discussing and debating this and getting the language that they're all comfortable using. Is that okay? And then they'll produce leaflets and brochures, and then they'll have to get it checked, and then they'll probably have to get it translated into about 30 different languages.
Brilliant.
I mean, the great thing is that all of this can change rapidly under a common sense reform government.
Good man. Now, it's Blue Monday. What are you depressed about? Because Blue Monday, it's the most depressing day of the year. People are supposedly suffering from post-Christmas blues. They've got no money. They're heavily in debt. The weather's rubbish. What makes you blue, Richard Tice? The thought about
the opposite. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I'm enthusiastic. We're making progress. We've now got 7 MPs. It's going to be exciting at PMQs this week. Just you wait.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've done you a special treat for Blue Monday because have you seen, this is the greatest meme ever created. Have you seen this? Have you seen this AI meme? This is from the Crewkern, which is down in Somerset. Gazette.
They are very funny.
Have you seen it? This is Richard Tice.
I think I may be a victim of one of these.
No, this is Richard Tice telling Nigel Farage, I think there might be a bit of AI, how Nigel Farage, ladies and gentlemen, can become even more popular. Take it away, Crewkern Gazette.
Now then, Nigel, I know we're doing well in the polls, but we just need to get you doing something truly extraordinary, something the other side would never consider.
I'm not getting my kit off to do a calendar again, Richard.
No, nothing like that. My mate Gary has a Spitfire. Let's get you doing a wind walk.
A wind walk? That sounds like something people do after eating baked beans. I'll be up for doing a wing walk, though.
If you're tuning in on the radio, then Farage is on the wing of a plane and it's taken off. That's brilliant, Tice, isn't it?
It's absolutely hysterical. They are very, very funny. These AR videos that Crewkern Gazette do, particularly straight after PMQs, they've got a great sense of humour. All credit to them.
And that's another great thing on a serious note, that you can actually laugh about it, because some people take it so seriously, don't they? But you got to have a laugh. Listen, mate, we know you're busy. Obviously, keep tuning in, because I'll be talking to your other half at 8 o'clock and seeing how she's rung up. She wants to be on because she's so depressed she hasn't got an engagement ring yet. I love it.
What can I say?
Nothing. Mate, listen, thank you so much. I know you're busy. We always appreciate your time. Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice there on everything to do with defection. Another one overnight. Another senior Tory, Andrew Rossendale, has defected from the Tory party, citing the Chagos Islands, and has moved to Reform. There will be 7 of them at Prime Minister's Question Time on Wednesday. That'll be brilliant, by the way. Jenrick will be sitting with the Reform. Andrew Rossendale. It's opened this whole debate amongst Reform supporters. Is it too many? What is too many? Is it about experience? Are they becoming the Tories 2.0? We'd love your thoughts. 0344 499 1000. You might want to talk. You're waking up to the news about Greenland. Is Trump overstepping the mark? Do we believe that Europe will stand together and do something about it? And if you are depressed on Blue Monday, fear not, my friends, because Keir Starmer is going to address the nation at 9. Christ, that'll be worth missing. Boz, good morning.
Morning, JK and the breakfast team. Travelling Boz here, back from me travels. Yeah, I mean, these people going over to Reform. I mean, Jenrick, well, you know, he says it as it is. He seems a perfect fit. This other guy who's come over, Romford MP, about Chagos Islands. I mean, fair play to him. He's taken an interest in that and he's standing down for what he believes in. And as for Boris piping up, first of all, he needs to brush his hair, then look a bit respectable, and he's the one that's caused a lot of this himself, because those Tories in power for 14 years have done nothing, so they deserve nothing.
Oh, don't get me on Zach Polanski. What did he used to do? The ex-leader of the Greens, right?
Grower through hypnosis.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Can I just say,
I've
got
lovely breasts.
I don't care if this is cut out about Zach Polanski. He apparently used to hypnotise women and increase the size of their breasts.
Not just
He's
women.
Now the leader of the Green Party, looking at him.
Not just women.
Do you know what
That's
I
what
say?
I'm saying.
I think he hypnotises bloody dentists. Have a look at his gnashes, honestly, seriously.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7:26. It's Talk Breakfast on a Monday morning. We're live across the UK on the home of Common Sense. It's where the working man and woman comes to speak. It's the home of Alarm Clock Britain. Thank you for your involvement. Loads of you texting, 87222. Chris Gibson, why is Keir Starmer the perfect person to tackle Blue Monday? Because he spent years practicing looking miserable on a Monday and his policies are so carefully costed they won't even let you spend money on retail therapy. Great. This is the news that on Blue Monday, the most depressing day of the year, Keir Starmer is going to address the nation at 9 o'clock. I might dip in and out. Don't forget, by the way, been telling you all morning, excellent with Julia from 10 o'clock. Robert Jenrick, who defected from the Tory party, blaze of publicity on Thursday last week, will be with Julia from 10 o'clock. Morning, Jez. So two-tier farm harmer Keir Starmer, nice, has chosen to address the nation at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. Smooth move when everyone who votes to him is sat in their underpants eating pot noodles on the sofa, while the rest of us are out grafting for a living. James is in Newcastle. JK, thanks for the trigger warning for Starmer and his speech at 9. Will he address the migrants crossing the channel on Saturday? Don't think so. Never has, never will. And I hope Sir Weller does go to reform. Sunak should have back to Kerry and Coventry just for now. I don't believe it's ambition that pushed Jenrick. He has risked his career moving over. He stood to gain more from staying. His apology is accepted. It takes a bigger man to apologise than to double down, in my opinion. I'm more worried about Nadeem. I didn't get remorse from his speech. That's Kerry in Coventry. Good morning, Sean. Greenland, my friend.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby. With everything what's going on in Greenland, I've got a solution. I think we should have an old-style MTV celebrity death match in a ring between Donald Trump and the King of Denmark in full armour with swords and have a fight to the death. But on a more serious note, maybe if we could actually defend ourselves, then strong men wouldn't come and try and take other people's stuff. Instead of pandering and punching off the Americans, let's start defending ourselves. Great show, mate.
Interesting. We'll get your calls in. We'll get your texts throughout the show. No, I'm not doing it. Let's say a very good morning to my next guest. This is Royal Stories. And on Blue Monday, if you thought that Prince Andrew's life could get any worse, it just did. Kinsey Schofield live in LA. Very good morning, sweet. How are you?
I'm great. And I
love the MTV deathmatch idea. That's a very creative concept. Sounds like something Trump would jump on board with. So loving the feedback so far this morning.
Let's ask you very quickly. By the way, the hair looks amazing. You're looking like Jennifer Aniston this morning. That was, I'm being completely honest, the hair looks incredible. Where do Americans stand on Greenland? Europe sort of apparently might flex its muscles, but we know it won't. I believe a lot of it's posturing because it happened with the defence spend, but I could be wrong. Where do Americans stand?
I can tell you it's the least of our priorities when it comes to what we want Trump to be accomplishing right now. We're concerned about groceries, gas prices, and of course, ICE. I mean, no matter what side you're on, you want to get illegal immigrants out of the country, you want a safer country, or you're angry that Trump is pursuing that. So it just feels like such a bizarre thing for him to be focused on right now, considering the fact that that's not something that's heavy on our hearts.
Great. Very honest of you. The stories rained in at the weekend. I phoned Christian yesterday. We've got to get Kins on. Let's start with Princess Eugenie. She has apparently cut off all contact with disgraced father Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Nobody loves me, whatever his name is. 2 daughters. Beatrice, I know, had him invited to the christening of her child. Eugenie, not so. The King has made it known that he supports both the daughters. I guess enough thought hasn't perhaps been given to the impact of what this man's, actions have caused his own daughters, who are in the public eye, and it can't be easy for them, right?
I agree. I mean, reports suggest Princess Eugenie is quietly reassessing her proximity to both of her parents as the fallout from their past association with Jeffrey Epstein continues and will continue as long as the Epstein files can continue to leak here in the States. With Sarah and Andrew expected to leave Royal Lodge shortly, it is understood that Eugenie feels her and her sister's reputations have been unfairly marked. And I have to admit, I'm a part of this because I say quite often, should King Charles be platforming the girls when it's a constant reminder of this scandal? It is an uncomfortable truth that while children are not accountable for their parents' mistakes, they are often shaped by them in the public eye. And in a family where image and legitimacy are inseparable, scandal lingers. Princess Eugenie's efforts to distance herself are not disloyalty, in my opinion, but self-preservation. I think that she's been counseled well. And the further she steps away, the safer her standing becomes within the monarchy.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it takes a person to walk away from their parents, but I mean, the guy is, I mean, over here the press call him, a paedophile. They categorically, I mean, the man is about to leave Royal Lodge. He's lost every title, quite rightly. It isn't good. And I think as a child, if you think about your own parents, if my father had done something like that, I would have had nothing to do with him. And I think that, but, the other one, I probably disagree with you about Charles, only because he can't win either way, because if he cuts them adrift, they'd be saying over here, well, it's not their fault, their parents are disgusting human beings. How can you do that to 2 young kids? There's also grandchildren to bear in mind. You can have a private relationship, but I think Eugenie's got it right. Talking about our friend Andrew, it just doesn't work for him, does it? Shamed Andrew suffers fresh blow in the Sun today. Exiled Andy's new home is at risk of being flooded. It never rains. See what we did there? R-E-I-G, yeah. Never rains, but it pours. So poor old Andrew, not. The new house that they're putting together, Marsh Farm on the Sandringham estate, which I know very well, is on a floodplain, and day one he could be flooded out.
Well, thankfully, he's got an entire team of people there right now. We saw some CCTV being installed last week, some new fencing being installed, a lot of security measures. The king is going above and beyond to protect his brother throughout this process. So if that is seriously a concern, maybe Andrew can step up and say to somebody that's there already for construction, do you mind throwing in some sandbags? But I have little sympathy for this guy.
So do I, and I hope it doesn't flood, because he'd probably put his Speedos back on, which would be a dreadful thought, wouldn't it, to be honest? I can't believe... Oh, look, no, she's not looking happy about that. Not a thought, Andrew Mountbatten and a pair of Speedos?
No, thank you, sir. I would prefer to not ever envision that ever again.
I don't think that men should wear Speedos. Do you, Kins?
I feel like on Blue Monday, there's no better time to have this conversation. I completely agree with you. They are insulting to my eyeballs, and I'd rather see the
They're inciting to my Anyway, yeah, there we go. Also, yes, Donald Trump secured late last year, as you know, only the second time, I think, that...
Dude, I predicted this, JK. I predicted this. I said this behavior, Donald Trump, his behavior is going to make the British government uncomfortable. And where I've said in the last few weeks, I don't know if we'll even see the state visit with King Charles.
This story, people, is that people are shouting now that because of Donald Trump's stance on Greenland and the way he's treating this country, that the King's state visit, which was due to go next year, or this year, I should say, to the US to further enhance those links, they're saying the government should call for that to be cancelled. Of course, Starmer's rejected that because he's scared of everybody. But and the King can't be political. That could be a really, really interesting meet. Do you think it'll go ahead or not? You don't think so?
I'm still so up in the air. I mean, let me put it this way. I have not purchased my tickets to Washington, D.C. yet because I am not convinced that this is going to take place. Harry's there right now. Old Prince Harry. And you and I've had the conversation so many times that one of the reasons it's important that King Charles keep his distance from Harry, especially while Harry is monetizing their relationship, is because the King legitimizes Harry. And the same goes for Donald Trump, for President Trump. Again, I'm an equal opportunity hater. This is not a political statement. But if Trump is behaving in a way that makes NATO uncomfortable and other world leaders uncomfortable, you know, fraternizing and hobnobbing and laughing with King Charles, there will be negative feedback. I mean, do you remember Colin Firth's ex-wife ripping up her honor from the royal family because of because they were kind to Trump during his state visit? I can't imagine the blowback that would come if Trump truly does pursue this.
It's really interesting. You make a great point. So Eugenie has cut off all contact with her disgraced father, Andrew, who's suffering the humiliation that his new farm could flood. And Donald Trump is putting in jeopardy the King's US visit. Anything else to fill me on my... Because your hair, honestly, that hair is amazing this morning.
You know what? Just change my name to Poppy because I'm getting some good feedback from you today, okay?
Oh, I see. What is this? So should we just do the first half? We'll call it the Poppy Coburn experience. The second, we'll call it Kinsey Schofield live and unfiltered. At 8 o'clock, Isabel's going to be on moaning about the fact she hasn't got an engagement ring from Tice. Why don't I just go home? Yes, say the listeners, please do. We love you. Our best to America, to California. We'll see you very soon. Thank you, Kinsey Schofield, host, of course, of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, live and exclusive there on Breakfast. What is it, 24 minutes to 8? God, we're busy. We'll go to Laura in a sec. Cliff in Berkshire. I wonder how the NHS staff member would respond if the 6-foot-plus male rugby player said that he might be pregnant. This, yeah, you might have heard this earlier. This is absolutely disgusting. Health bosses are investigating after it emerged that NHS midwives were taught about the potential benefits of sleeping with your cousin. Outrageous. Reform, says Steve, now have 7 MPs. Then maybe this year Nigel can be allowed to take part in the Remembrance Sunday parade, or will Starmer find a new reason? I would add to that, why is he never allowed to ask questions? Outrageous. I think I agree completely. Good morning, Jez, said Martin. Is it Bailey? I hope that's right. I think this is a massive tick in the box for reform on a national level, with Jenrick joining and any real Conservative politician. If they have a passionate political position and are not afraid of criticising the Tories and calling out the wokery of Westminster, I am all for them as a Reform member. Words mean nothing without sincerity. Reform does need the experience of Jenrick, for example. He has plenty of it. Kemi might be giving some good speeches, but she won't be able to do anything if she wanted to because of the Lib Dem influence from the coalition days. Anyway, that's my position. That's Martin in Lichfield. Thank you, Mark. Paul's endorsed it. I understand people's concerns about the amount of Conservatives. However, I really hope that Suella Braverman is next. I think she's first class. Kevin's in Stafford. At this rate, it won't be long before our wonderful NHS will be telling us that it's OK to have sex with our sister, our brother, our mother and even our dad. They are that bloody balmy. I'll give it 6 months before they take our TV adverts to promo this disgusting practice. Great, can you imagine that? We'll go to an ad break where it says, you can sleep with your cousin and there's only a 10% chance that the child will have birth defects. What are we doing? Why is a 6'2" rugby player being asked by a person in A&E, are you pregnant? The world's gone bloody nuts. Morning, Laura.
I just wanted to say, all the nonsense that's getting talked about people joining Reform and whether they're going to vie for the leadership with Nigel, They can't have it both ways. One minute it's the Nigel show alone. He can't run a party or a country on his own. And as soon as he's getting all these other excellent people in, he's getting criticised for it. He knows that at 59 he's not probably going to do 2 terms, although he could. So why shouldn't he be getting good people in? I'm delighted. Anyway, more power to his elbow. Great show.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 20 to 8. We're live across the United Kingdom. JK on Talk Breakfast, thank you for all your involvement. You're waking up to the news, of course. Another senior Tory, Andrew Rossendale, MP for Romford, former Shadow Minister in Foreign Affairs, has quit the Tories and headed to Reform, saying that their response to the Chega silence is a complete dereliction of responsibility. At 9 o'clock, Sir Keir Starmer, who allegedly has stood up to Donald Trump and gone, no, you can't have Greenland, in a very different voice. He's going to address the nation, which will depress you all. But then it is, of course, Blue Monday. It's the most depressing day of the year. People are suffering from post-Christmas blues. They've got no money and the weather's rubbish. So if you would like to let us know what you're depressed about, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. We're going live to London to the Shadow Defence Secretary and say a very good morning. From the Tory benches, James Cartledge MP. Good morning, James. How are you?
Good. I'm very well, thank you. It's actually much milder than when I last spoke to you.
You see, you haven't got your coat on. Now, sorry, I'm a bit confused. Have you come on to defect to the Reform Party? Is that why you've come on the show this morning? Is that what's going on?
Not quite. I think I've come on to talk to you about whatever your questions are. So you hit me with them and I will do my best to respond as I always do.
You're a good man, I'm joking. Let's start with the defections. Overnight, another one of your colleagues, Andrew Rossendale, the MP for Romford, a former Shadow Minister, somebody who's left the party saying he is up in arms about how your party has responded to the Chagos Island deals on the back of Robert Jenrick last Thursday, James. Does this not sound the warning bell? I mean, I know it's the far right, or not far right, the right of the party, and I know that the Conservative Party is sort of broad church, but this isn't just one, and there are rumoured to be others. That must be a concern, no?
To be honest, I mean, obviously it's disappointing that Andrew has defected, but I just think that, Kemi's had an amazing few months. She's made some brilliant policy announcements. She's been fantastic at Prime Minister's questions, her response to the budget, and of course the policies we set out at conference, which were fully funded and showed the importance of our values, which endure no matter who comes and goes. But as I say, obviously it's disappointing, and I suppose my reflection is I can't remember, aside from the defections, I cannot remember us feeling as united as this. If people wish to leave, they leave. But in terms of our party in Parliament, I think ultimately we'll be stronger from this, we'll be more united. Because at the end of the day, and we've discussed this many times on your show, we do have a very weak Prime Minister who sort of U-turns every 5 minutes. There needs to be an alternative, and it has to be credible. Because I'll finish with this point. A lot of the reform talk is about this kind of broken Britain. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm very proud of my country and my party, and so, you know, I'm right behind Kemi. I think in the coming weeks and months you'll see another set of really positive policy announcements, and generally us setting that narrative of how there is a credible alternative to Keir Starmer.
Whatever people say, I do try and look at all sides. And I said last week to you, I interviewed Kemi and I was very impressed. I fear, and I'm being totally honest, and I respect your position, I fear that she might be the sort of William Hague of the of this era, you know, the right person at a time where maybe, however good the policy announcements are now, the British public are like, yeah, but you messed up in the end and we need to punish you. I just wanted to say there was sort of two schools of thought over the weekend, and then we'll move on to Greenland, that Kemi had been sort of actually showing real leadership in getting rid of Jenrick and being as forceful as she was, that actually to the true blue Tory party, that said a lot about her. Would you agree with that?
Totally, and if I may, you know, and this is, you know, you may or may not doubt this, I'm being as open as I can with you and as candid. You know, over the weekend, I went to the supermarket, I did all my things in my constituency in Suffolk where I live, and people were coming up to me, they were really impressed with what she'd done, they felt it showed leadership, but also just this sense that she was ahead of what was happening. And I must admit, from my point of view as an MP, I think just generally, our operations, our comms have been better recently. She's got a hold of things. It feels like we have got our mojo back. There's a long way to go, and you said about the anger of the public. You know, we got a shellacking in the general election, and we deserved that, because I'm very proud of much of what we did in government. But by the end, 14 years, yes, you know, it was time for a change. However, that change is proving to be very, very disappointing indeed, and I think that the opportunity, actually, I think it's very different to under William Hague. The opportunity, there has to be a party standing for election that has a set of credible funded policies that the city can look to as being reliable, that businesses can look to as being stable with the economy, and I want us to be that option at the next election.
Couldn't agree more. Just talk quickly about Greenland. I know you're a busy man. Almost across the board, British politicians have come out and said that Trump's rhetoric and threats about Greenland is unacceptable. It's part of NATO, it's owned by Denmark. I've said many times I don't agree with everything, but I do want to make this point to you. He postured about NATO and the money put in, and everybody moved the dial because he'd spent far more America than we had, and it sort of moved. Is this posturing, or are we at a very, very critical moment? And do you believe still further that this, you know, this 81 billion bazooka trade war, do you think the European Union has got the cojones, James, to be honest, to actually stand up to Donald Trump this time?
Well, on that last question, that's a very good question, because, you know, it's many, many nations in there and they'll have different agendas. But your first point is a very, very good point, which we've discussed before, isn't it? Which is, I've always said, whatever one thinks of Donald Trump, he has got a point about us not spending enough. And it's not us. There are countries that spend a lot less. And in a way, free riding on the back of what the US does. So I've said throughout, we have got to spend more. That's going to involve some difficult decisions. You know, I mean, for me, I can't understand why Labour increased removed the two-child benefit cap instead of spending more on defence. I think it's an extraordinary misjudgment.
I can't believe they gave the Chagos Islanders 16 billion, so none of them pay any income tax for 18 months. There's no national debt, and this country's on its backside. That makes no fiscal sense, James.
No. Look, all I can say on Chagos, irrespective of what other people have said, and Andrew Rossendale, etc., I have fought passionately every day since the general election on this issue. I think it's an appalling deal. It's paying $35 billion to rent back territory that we own freehold. I think it's extraordinary. We've shown that the so-called legal arguments they've got are incredibly weak. There are holes all over them. But above all, it just shows that this is a government that doesn't really prioritise the brutal national interest. And that's what we've got to do in the world as it is. And you know, some may think that's what President Trump does. On the issue of Greenland, your first question, I would just say, yes, I do strongly agree with the Prime Minister on this. I think everyone does in Britain. You know, we are a NATO member. NATO is an alliance which is in the mutual interest of all its members. Let's not forget, in 9/11, NATO, so the only time Article 5 has been called, NATO countries stood by the United States. In fact, the Danes, I think you'll find, obviously Greenland, part of Denmark, had the highest per capita losses in the Afghan war. So, you know, we've stood by them. We are better off together. This will be bad for the US, bad for ourselves, and I hope President Trump thinks again.
Couldn't agree more. I know you're a busy man. I know you've got to do it. They're waving at me, but we really appreciate your time as ever, James, and hope to get you back on very soon. James Cartledge, Shadow Defence Secretary, top man there, live from Westminster, 12 minutes to 8 o'clock. Jerry, good morning.
Morning, Jez. Jerry from Bradford here. If Starmer's going to cheer us all up on this Blue Monday. Let's hope it's with his resignation and calling for a general election. Great show as always, Jez. Keep it up.
This is the announcement on Blue Monday, the most depressing day of the year, that the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has announced he's going to speak to the nation at 9 o'clock. Yeah, we're all going, what are you going to say? The only thing that he could say, as Jerry says, is, I am resigning. He's not, though, is he? Let's be perfectly honest. He's going to bore us to tears. Apparently, he stood up to Donald Trump. Would you not love to be a fly on the wall when he'd say, hello, Donald, I do think you should back down a bit. I don't know, I've no idea. Anyway, don't forget the other big news, Defection City. Another one overnight, Andrew Rossendale, and, of course, last Thursday, Robert Jenrick, massive signing for Nigel Farage. Robert Jenrick, live and exclusive on Julia Hartley-Brewer this morning from 10 o'clock. On Talk.
Reform are crying wolf about cancelled elections, but won't have one for their latest recruits. The bottom line is the people of Newark voted Conservative, and what they've now got is Reform. That's not democracy, is it?
They voted for Robert Jenrick. They voted for his principles and values, and absolutely, that's what democracy is all about. And actually, he's got huge support both within his constituency and elsewhere. I think you'll see us continue to go up in the polls.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, up 10 to 8. Thank you so much indeed for all the messages. David Brocklehurst. Is he in No, that'd be Brockner. The more Tories that defect to Reform is a step closer to the end of them. Stuart Brown. Good morning, JK. I'm hoping to get voted in to be a councillor in May for Reform, and I believe that we should take the best MPs who are true patriots. It is about putting Britain first. That's my view. Good morning to Stuart, who says, Lisa Namby-Pamby thinks women can have willies and men can get pregnant, so please show some respect. This is Lisa Nandy, who's described the Reform Party as... Well, she said that they're sort of fascist, but she said if it sounds like a duck and looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. Brilliant. Yvonne's in Somerset, which is brave. Good morning, JK. For those Reform voters throwing their toys out of the pram, they seem to hate the Tories more than care about the country. Keep the faith or get another Labour government. As simple as that. Matt says, shall I tell you what's getting me down on Blue Monday, JK? It's the fact I'm due to move house this week and I have to pay Rachel Thieves a ridiculous sum of money for absolutely nothing. Yeah, that's true. Hello to John. Expat West Countryman, currently listing in Australia. Yeah, good for you. What happens when those children marry? Oh, this is the story about marrying cousins. This is outrageous. I don't know if you've heard about this. It's just midwives have been told. This is genuinely true. The potential benefits of cousin marriage, despite the practice increasing the links of birth defects. I don't know what's going on. What is it? 8 minutes to 8. Let's go to America, actually, to my favourite television channel in the land, KTAR in Phoenix, in Arizona Morning News, and say g'day to LaDonna Harvey. How are you, LaDonna?
I'm doing fabulous. How about yourself?
Not bad for a old man. Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good.
I understand.
We live in a really, really weird country where our National Health Service have given out guidance today that it's okay to, in fact, get married and have sex with your cousin. There's only a 1 in 10 chance that your child will have a defect. That's what I'm dealing with.
I think even in Virginia these days, they're saying, that's probably not the best plan
You've said Virginia. I did the Jeremy Kyle show in America for 3 years, and I've been to Columbus, Ohio. Trust me, I've been to Columbus. Yeah.
Well,
I've been to the trailer parks. Welcome to the show.
I grew up in one.
No, great. God blimey. Yeah, let's change the subject. Anyway, right, listen, loads and loads to talk about. And I wanted your take, as I was asking briefly Kinsey earlier, LaDonna, about this whole Trump thing with Greenland, because I don't know. We've talked loads and we will talk loads. It's like you never know what you're going to get. I wonder how much is posturing to move the dial with other people, and certainly with like money to give to NATO. When he first came back into power, he was like, we're paying all this and you're not, and everybody moved the dial. Is this posture, or is he genuinely wanting to take Greenland over? Because somebody just made a really good point. The Danes lost more people in the war in Afghanistan, the soldiers supporting you, and after 9/11 and all that, than any other European country.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with Trump. So, here's the thing. If he has one hand over here, you need to be paying attention to the other hand, which is over here, or behind his back, or it's doing something. But what it's not doing is what is going on over here. Now, he may be dead serious about Greenland. He seems to be, which worries, I think, a lot of Americans, saying, where did the Greenland thing come from? We understand the spheres of influence. We understand the Monroe Doctrine, or the Don Roe Doctrine, as we're calling it now. But starting a trade war with all of Europe over Greenland seems a bit much. For the average American voter, I think they're like, what is going on here?
I mean, that's the point. And I just think it's really interesting to get the American perspective. And we love having you on, because here we're all going, you haven't got the balls to stand up to him. You lot, Europe, you'll just go, yeah, and you'll posture a bit and he'll get his way. And others are saying, no, we need to. Every politician of every denomination in this country is saying, no, you cannot have Greenland. That's absolutely outrageous. But I would suggest that the whole Trump approach to life, which is making the deal, right? That's it. And I find it fascinating's probably the wrong thing to say, but it is interesting, because we have a spineless leader in this country who wouldn't say boo to his own wife. And so, I wonder whether that's what Trump does, just plays on it,
I think that he causes the most amount of chaos that he can. That is his idea of the deal, and it's something that's worked for him for decades. Don't get me wrong. This is an approach that he believes works for him. I think that, when we looked at pictures of people offloading troops onto Greenland, saying, well, there might be a little bit of a fight here, that may have given him pause, but I honestly don't know. I don't know what this Chinese and Russian presence in Greenland is. As far as I know, there really isn't one, other than maybe ships that are passing by.
Yeah. Do you think, do Americans, though, and I want you to come on for about an hour, because there's so much I could talk to you about. Do average Americans want to be talking about Greenland, or are they worried, as Kinsey said, about the cost of groceries and, the fact they can't get jobs and stuff? Because surely the economy, that's what happens here. People tend to use foreign policy to escape from dealing with the domestic strife at home.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's, I believe it was James Carville in a presidential election supporting Bill Clinton, where he said, it's the economy, stupid, and he wasn't wrong. Everybody in America watches their wallets. People vote with their wallets. They can't help it. That is their future. And anytime somebody is trying to deflect away from any economic issues, and we have a few here in America, then you should be very concerned. You should be very concerned if they're, poking a bear in Europe to try to pick a fight over an island that nobody cares about at all, except the people who live there, and maybe a few mining companies.
Maybe that's the thing. I've been told by people over here, it's about the mining extracts and it's about the minerals and stuff, and maybe it is basically that. But it's just this ongoing fascination with somebody who tries to hold the world to ransom. And I sit and watch and think, has the world, as I say, got the balls to stand up to him? LaDonna, I so love having you on, mate. I really do. What time is it with you in Phoenix? Ridiculous.
It's give or take 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure.
We love you. Thank you, my darling, for coming on. We'll speak to you very, very soon. LaDonna Harvey, Arizona Morning News, Qatar and Phoenix, the greatest city in America by a merry mile. Quick call. Let's go to Gaynor in Leicestershire. Gaynor, you got 1 minute. What's up?
I'm fed up with that stupid flipping idiot Starmer. This announcement is going to make it 9 o'clock. I think it's something to do with not a declaration of war, but something preparing for war, so we can take away all our last freedoms, totally control us.
We haven't got an army. He hasn't got the balls to stand up to Trump. I reckon he's going to go Happy Blue Monday. That's what I think it'll be.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be anything dynamic, to be fair.
No, we know he ain't got no balls. Just like standing up and looking like his AI impersonation of himself. It's just a sweaty pig. End of.
Brilliant. Oh, there's another person who loves Keir Starmer. Thank you so much indeed. That is Gaynor and Leicester. You're live across the UK with Talk Breakfast. Very quickly, Andy, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Just on reform, just listening to Richard Tice again has just reinforced the things I've thought for quite a while about reform. It's the way they're planning ahead for government and getting things in line. It's really refreshing to see. I mean, God forbid, imagine planning ahead when you know that you might be the next government. Imagine doing that. That would be amazing. Yeah, and there's that old mantra, isn't they? Dress for the job you want, not the job you've got. And that seems to be how they're running things down there. And if they continue to do that, and they're bringing in the right people, I think this country's going to go places.
There you go, that's his thoughts. What are yours? 87222. Your calls on 0344 499 1000. The news at 8 and Isabel Oakshire afterwards. See you in 3.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth, Super Bowl 60, and you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for two to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Just got 8 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. Talk Breakfast is on for Monday, the 19th of January. It's the home of Alarm Clock Brits, the working Brit. What are you doing this morning? Are you already in the car? Are you there? Are you coming back from a night shift? Can you not get your kids out of bed? Is the school run a nightmare? We want to hear from you, reacting to the day's news. 87222 on the text, or 0344 499 1000. You're waking up to another senior Tory defection. Andrew Rossendale, MP for Romford, an ex-Foreign Office minister, has said that the way the Tories have dealt with the Chagos Islands is a disgrace, and he believes that Nigel Farage is next best to be the next leader of this country. Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, she said, if it sounds like a duck and looks like a duck, then it probably is a duck. It's the Culture Secretary. Yeah, I know, crackers. But the other big news, apart from defections, and everybody wants to talk about defections, what's going to be next? Will there be a Labour one tomorrow, the cut-off date before the local elections? This is good for reform, or is it bad for reform? Loads of people getting involved. Yvonne in Somerset. Just for those reform voters throwing their toys out of the pram, they seem to hate the Tories more than care about this country. Keep the faith or end up with this bag. Next. Amanda, Tory defections. For goodness sake, why all the fuss? Every reform voter has defected from another party. Really interesting. And Catherine in Loughborough, I think people who are upset about the defections are forgetting a couple of things. One, Nigel has always said they need experience in the team of governance and navigating the civil service. He also said that if Reform win the next election, the public wouldn't give them much time to make a difference, so they need to be ready from day one. Two, Nigel is not the same as other leaders are and have been. He will not tolerate people in the party who do not follow the vision or who are slackers. Personally, I've followed Nigel since he was leader of UKIP, and he's always been a strong man, a grafter, and someone who is not afraid of taking action. Good morning, Perry.
Morning, Jeremy. The thing with the Conservatives, like, you know, the guy that you've just had on, you know, we've got some great new policies we're going to put forward in the next few weeks. You know, Theresa May had some great new policies she was going to put forward. Boris Johnson had great new policies he was going to put forward, 40 new hospitals and whatnot. Then we had Keir Starmer, promised us the earth. What's happened? Nothing. Nothing ever comes of these great new policy offers they've got for us. So I'm going to take more to convince than just being told they've got some great new policies, because they just lie. They lie just to get into power. And then when they've got into power, they just rub their hands and say, let's jump on the gravy train and let's make ourselves rich.
Thank you, Perry. Can I just do a trigger warning for the 11 people that watch this and listen to it? In 55 minutes, the Prime Minister of this country, Sir Keir Starmer, on Blue Monday, the most depressing day of the year, is going to address us all from Downing Street. Are we going to play any of it or not? God, are we? Go for a wee while that's on. Very good morning, Isabel Oakeshott. How are you? Very good to see you.
I was feeling a bit Blue Monday, and then I heard that you'd been teasing my Richard Tice about the slight absence of a ring on my finger, and that cheered me up. Thank you for doing that.
We're getting messages now from, I said, Richard Tice on at 7 o'clock, all these defections and the important things. What questions would you like to put to Richard? And the first three texts are, not only is he punching, but has he put his hand in his wallet and actually bought that wonderful lady an engagement ring yet? I mean, there's support.
Do you see a ring?
Nothing.
Do you? No.
do you know what he said? He went, patience is a virtue.
Yeah, I think he said that last time you asked him about it.
I know.
Yeah, so now what he's talking about. So as some people know, I live in Dubai much of the time, and this is the home of bling. You know, there are lots of exciting gold and diamond options here, but no, it appears that Mr. Tice thinks that it would be a good idea for the ring to come from Skegness, or Boston and Skegness. And I'm not disliking the idea. Apparently there are some really lovely jewellers in Boston and Skegness, so that may be where it comes from.
Can I just point out, I know we're talking, this is brilliant. Dubai, you can get 40% off. I've bought many things. I've got a jeweller there you can go to, but Richard Tice is such the constituency MP. He's going to find a jeweller somewhere in Skegness. You're going to end up with a bit of tat. But anyway, you love the man.
I think that's rude, Jeremy. I think that's rude. I think there are, in fact, he has been already approached by a lovely local jeweller, and I think he has minded to go in that direction.
You see what I've done there? I've turned it round, so you're now defending him, whereas 3 minutes ago you were pointing your finger going, I haven't got a ring. Right, listen, I'm going to keep on at him. You deserve so much more than I think he's able to give you, but that's another story. Reform defections. Isabel, you are very much at the heart of the reform movement. We know about that. I just wanted to maybe try a different angle than we spoke to Richard earlier. Andrew Rossendale, overnight, MP for Romford, a right-wing Tory amongst the wets that stay there, somebody who, quite rightly, is absolutely infuriated by this Chagos Islands deal. It just opens up this whole debate after, of course, Robert Jenrick's high-profile defection the other day. How many is enough? How many is too many? How do you balance the arguments that we hear, which are diametrically opposed to each other, which is, you can't be in government, you haven't got any experience, to, hold on a minute, you're having anybody and everybody, it's the Tory Party 2.0. Where do you stand on this, Isabel?
Well, where I stand is that I'm damn glad that I'm not the leader having to make these judgments, because they are really difficult and really delicate. It's super important that reform doesn't just look like a new version of the Tories, but equally, every day reform faces the critique from the other parties and from many voters that it's a one-man band and that it's not got enough experience. They don't look like a government in waiting. You kind of can't have it both ways.
No.
Although, of course, in politics, everybody tries to. And the other point was made, I think, by one of our own listeners a few minutes ago, which is that, Reform is trying to convert Tory voters. So why wouldn't it also try to convert Tory MPs? The more MPs it has, the more powerful and influential it becomes in Parliament. But I do think that there's a limit. It's about quality, isn't it? And it's about ideological alignment. What it can't be about is opportunism. And I'm sure that Nigel Farage is more than conscious of that.
I mean, I felt we'd finished the show when the generic news broke, so it's my first chance we had today to talk about it. I thought the speech was astonishing. I thought it was great. I thought his speech was living proof that he's a very, very good orator and a very good politician. There will be people who say, oh, come on, you're just jumping ship. No, this is a man who resigned from the cabinet. There's a lot of people today saying they'd like to see Suella Braverman move over, but it is balancing that argument. But I'll tell you what I said, which I don't know what you make of this, Isabel. The reason Reform started is that millions of Conservative voters didn't like the direction in which the Conservative Party was going. It was too centrist. And so my argument would be that if people can move to a different direction, why can't MPs who suddenly feel over time that their party isn't perhaps purveying the values that they once believe it did and why they stood for it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was sort of, you put it differently, but it was a point I just made. Reform can't exist without bringing over voters who once supported other parties.
Yeah.
Of course, Reform is trying to attract voters that perhaps have been so disaffected by politics they don't bother voting at all, but it also wants to attract former Labour voters and former Tory voters. So it's a whole new entity. It has to look and feel and act like a whole new entity, but that doesn't mean it can't take the best of the Tories. I think there's a more interesting sort of exercise, which is to wonder what will the Tory party become without the right wingers that have gone to Reform.
Good point.
Does that then become a kind of like a Lib Dem thing? Will we see some crossing of the floor potentially on the left of the Tory party to the Lib Dems? I don't think that's completely beyond the realms of possibility.
I think that's a really, really good point. Now, in your role as Talk's international editor, I'd love your take on the other main news story that is dominating today. Sir Keir Starmer, this will excite you on Blue Monday, is giving an emergency speech in Downing Street in about 50 minutes if you want to go to the toilet or do something different, everybody. He apparently, in a forceful conversation, has told Donald Trump that his tariffs on NATO allies opposing a takeover of Greenland are wrong. He announced 10% tariffs on countries that took part in a NATO training exercise in Greenland. By the way, we only sent one soldier and he didn't have a rifle. He went on a commercial flight. He's rejected calls to cancel the King's trip to the US, but there are people saying that Starmer is standing up to Trump. Now, I'd love your take on this. Is this posturing? Is it genuine? Is NATO really going to stand against the United States?
This whole thing, I think you used the word earlier, fascinating. It is fascinating. Initially when Trump started talking about this, I thought it's posturing. I mean, it isn't, it's not new for American leaders to talk about wanting more control over Greenland, ostensibly for strategic defense reasons, but also, of course, for natural resources. That actually is something that was first raised many, many decades ago. And there are real reasons to be concerned about what influences are being brought to bear in Greenland on the Russian side and on the Chinese side. So I thought, well, this is a usual Trump posturing, but he's pushing it quite hard now, isn't he? I mean, much harder actually than I thought he would go. So where does this end? Does it end with the disintegration of NATO? I really can't see that. But with Trump, you could be proved wrong quite quickly. I mean
everybody has
this afternoon.
Everybody, quite rightly, in fact, on all political sides, Nigel Farage, Richard, your man, said earlier, has said this is fundamentally wrong. But I'm not a massive fan of NATO, which is going to annoy some people. I don't think it's as effective as people believe it is. I think it's a bit like the NHS in this country. People need to get it off a pedestal and do something about it that'll make it work. When he first came to power, he got everybody to dip into their pockets, and quite right. And so I'm sort of still in that position. But one thing you know about somebody like Trump is he needs standing up to. I think he sort of would respect it if you stood up to him, but I'm not sure that we certainly don't have the leader. I like this message from Gary in Swindon. You'll love this, Isabel. Apparently he's found out that Starmer in his speech at 9 o'clock is going to announce that he's jumping ship and has defected to reform, and he's sold the United Kingdom to Donald Trump.
Well, there has been speculation of a big Labour defection, so, you know, I just somehow feel that he might not quite pass muster with us. So I disagree with you about NATO. I think that NATO, you know, if it weren't for NATO, imagine where Putin would have gone by now. So I
get that. I do think it needs updating, though. I think we need to get it off a pedestal.
Without a doubt, you know, particularly operationally, you know, NATO is not actually ready to carry out joint operations, far from it. But that is a whole other subject. You know, the thing about Trump, though, is I'm not sure he's concerned about falling out with the whole of Europe. You know, Starmer can try to steal some headlines this morning. This is what this is all about. You know, Starmer has looked at the papers over the last week and all it's been about is reform. So now he's like, oh, how do I make a bit of running?
That is brilliant. That's the best one ever. Stop. That is, could you do that again? That is better than any impression. Go on, Isabel Oakeshott. Go on.
No, we're not doing that one again. So he's going to try and get a few headlines, but I don't think Starmer gives I don't think Trump gives a monkeys, does he? I mean, he'll take this as far as he wants to take it on any given day.
Couldn't agree more. I'm going to abuse my position because I'm not getting rid of you yet. Good morning to Oliver and Iris and Ava. They're on their way to school. Well, Ava isn't. Have a great day. Lots of love. Isabel, obviously this speech at 9 o'clock, Sir Keir Starmer, we had Lisa Nandy describing... Did you see the Lisa Nandy speech?
I'm aware of it, where she described...
I'm going to play it to you. This is her description of reform as a potential government in this... This is a Minister of the Crown, ladies and gentlemen. Please play it.
I'm not sure that labels are particularly helpful, but like I said, I've got a lot of experience of dealing...
You're not saying no?
Living with the consequence... Well, I've got a lot of experience of living with the consequences of othering and people who are trying to divide us from one another. And I guess I would just say that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, in my experience, it usually is a duck.
Isabel Oakeshott.
If it looks like an idiot and talks like an idiot, then it probably is an idiot.
She's on fire today, Oakeshott. What the hell does that mean? That's her saying that reform is full of fascists, apparently.
I mean, this is just so lame, isn't it? At what point does the Labour Party understand that this kind of rhetoric backfires on them? That it just, as Zia Youssef very compellingly said, you know, if you wheel out these terms, you just diminish the real meaning of terms like that. And the people, the victims of real fascist regimes, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's laughable. I think that clip will, if we play it again and again and again, if reform strategists were to play it again and again and again, all it does is act as a recruiting sergeant for Nigel Farage, because it makes Labour look ever more feeble and out of touch.
To me, it's really important. We've spent the morning, because we do what the people want, the listeners, and actually they want to talk about this defection, they want to talk about Greenland, but this defection thing needs to be looked at from a different angle. And this isn't somebody who voted reform, because I had Tories on this morning. I'll do that. I'll have all views. I ask Labour on every day. They won't come. I'd love Labour to come on, but they won't come on. I think the noise around reform is so loud that tells you everything about the unbelievably impossible strides this party has made. It's not about in Prime Minister's question times on Wednesday, there'll be 7 of them with Jenrick and Rossendale. It's about the fact that a party that was started by your old man in a garage, and this is true, is on the verge of becoming the next government, is controlling the rhetoric so that our own Prime Minister feels he's got to come out at 9 o'clock this morning and say something that actually all the politicians inside Reform are so proactive and have done such a great job that has incentivised other people to look in the mirror and go, am I with the right party? Am I doing the right thing? I think that says an awful lot about where this country is because, sorry, small party political broadcast, from my point of view, there are very few MPs who actually give me the impression they give a toss about my life. And I think that is putting your finger on the pulse of the British public. And right now, and I could be wrong, Reform seem to be there in that position.
I mean, if you just zoom out from it and setting aside, my personal involvement and links to the party, it is truly astonishing in what people have long assumed was a two-party system that could never really be budged, that a few brave hearts with a vision and a dream have managed to get from basically nothing to where Reform is today. Nigel Farage is a master strategist. He has got us where we are. You mentioned about the garage. You're showing now pictures of my partner, Richard Tice. I mean, it was really Richard and David Bull and a couple of other people round the kitchen table. And Richard kept on saying, as people jeered and mocked and said, you will never get anywhere. And most of those people, by the way, were Tories saying, oh, well, they're there, nice little idea. He kept on saying, if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. And I can tell you those times were really, really hard, but he kept at it. But it took Nigel with his box office appeal and master strategy to get where the party is now. And history books will be written about this. I don't know how the story ends, Jeremy. Reform only has 7 MPs. A week is a long time in politics, never mind 3 years. Of course, it's possible that this dream withers in some way. I don't know. None of us can know. But the achievement to be from where they were to where they are now, basically making all the running, is truly extraordinary in historical terms.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that Cam, again, a great job. He does all the stuff that you see on screen. Labour are rattled. That's why Starmer is making this speech at 9 o'clock. I believe that there's nothing proactive about our government or the Tories, and the Tories won't like me saying that. I know they go on about costing, and I'll give them that. But for whatever reason, maybe it's just the stardust that's Nigel Farage, maybe it's the fact that millions of people, the silent majority, have woken up. The wind of change seems to be with Reform. But as you quite rightly point out, a week is a long time in politics. I want to quiz you on 2 more things. Tory defections, lots of people. Have you got a minute? Let's go to Lincolnshire, because Ben wants to talk about Suella Braverman, because I think many people think she would be next. Ben, good morning. Isabel's with me.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. No, I think that I hope you're barking up the wrong tree with Suella Braverman. Now, personally, I will vote Reform. Richard's my MP. I don't trust Nigel. The cult of Nigel, I know you guys are going to completely disagree with me on that, but the way Reform treated Suella Braverman last year, and the fact that her husband quit the party over it, I would be absolutely amazed if Suella was going to come along and join Reform, and I think she's a brilliant MP.
Country first and all that, water under the bridge and all that, people can get past stuff.
Then solve the problems with Rupert Lowe and get Rupert Lowe back in the party, because Rupert Lowe is, I believe, possibly the greatest MP that we've got in this country at the moment. He speaks from the heart. He
did think that 11 canoeists one morning on the Greater Yarmouth Beach were migrants and they were just a local group having a paddle. Isabel, your response?
Take your hat off to him on that, yeah.
Look, there's a lot I could say here about Rupert Lowe, and I'm not going to, but all I would say to the caller is there's a lot more to this than it seems. Rupert Lowe was not a team player. And that is why ultimately he could not remain in the party. It was extremely difficult. So please, don't put him on a pedestal. I get that he does great things as an independent MP, but it wasn't to be. Now, as for Suella Braverman, I'm a fan. I think she's great. Her husband has been a member of Reform. I've got no special knowledge of this because Nigel quite rightly keeps this stuff incredibly tight. But I think it's far from beyond the realms of possibility that she will cross over.
Final thing, thank you very much indeed, Ben. Isabel, final thing, Labour defection. Nigel made a big thing last week, didn't he, at the press conference with Jenrick saying, we've got a Labour defection. Richard seemed to row back a little bit on that at 7 o'clock. I know negotiations are probably ongoing. He didn't say MP, though, Farage. Did you pick up on that? He said well-known Labour figure. And my bet, and you can laugh your head off, is David Blunkett.
I'd near enough rule that out, actually.
Okay. What do I know?
Just to be clear, I have zero knowledge on this one.
How can you rule out my suggestion, then?
Thank goodness, because I just know David. Not that I know him personally, but no, that's a non-runner. Jeremy, much as I think he'd be great, actually, I think that is a bit wild. The thing about the way that Nigel Farage handles defections is that basically only he and about one other person knows, maybe his dog or something. And that is a very smart way of doing it. And thank goodness, because it means I and anyone else around him can't be accused of leaking anything.
Do you know what? You're absolutely right thinking about it. 8:25. Now, to finish, because we love you and you've got up, you're doing your Dubai work and you're working really hard. Have you seen some of these memes that go out about your future husband and Nigel Farage? We've got the latest one. It is utterly brilliant. It's courtesy of the Crewker and Gazette down in Somerset. And this is obviously AI, but it's fantastic. This is Richard Tice saying to Nigel Farage, we've got to a point, Nigel, but we need to go further. I want your reaction. This is brilliant. Watch this.
Now then, Nigel, I know we're doing well in the polls, but we just need to get you doing something truly extraordinary, something the other side would never consider.
I'm not getting my kit off to do a calendar again, Richard.
No, nothing like that. My mate Gary has a Spitfire. Let's get you doing a wind walk.
A wind walk? That sounds like something people do after eating baked beans. I'll be up for doing a wing walk, though.
What do you make? If you are listening on the radio, it's utterly fantastic. And then he's got him strapped to the side of a Spitfire. You loved that, didn't you, Isabel?
It's so freaky, this stuff, isn't it? Because that is Richard's voice, that is Nigel's voice, but it's not quite their face, is it? There's some slight tweak there as AI does it. It's extraordinary.
There are less lines on that Richard Tice than the real Richard Tice. But I was going to suggest, just to finish, do you not think that if AI and the Crewker and Gazette can create such imagery, they could perhaps come up with an engagement ring? Make it up.
Well, there is a thought. There's a thought. I think you might be giving them ideas. Soon there'll be some awful video with me, looking mournful on the streets of Skegness with no ring. This may be a thing.
Listen, we're great. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you've got loads on. Talks International editor Isabel Oakeshott. Thank you so much indeed. Talking defections, talking about Starmer, Green and Starmer, of course. What is it? It's a 33-minute warning. Ladies and gentlemen, our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, will announce, we've got no idea what, he's going to address the nation. Is this Sean one a new one? We're going to go to an ad break. Keep the calls and the texts coming. Morning, Shawnee.
Morning, Jeremy, Christian and team. Sean from Leicester. Starmer, why can't he do his speech when the rest of us are going to work? I've been up since like 5:15 this morning. Why do it at 9 o'clock when the only people that are going to be listening are to those that are going to be watching daytime TV and not grafting like us? Anyway, great show, mate. Keep it up.
This is the Political Asylum, current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! Oi! You shut up. I'm trying to record something.
Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
We're with you every weekday night, Monday to Friday, 7 until 10 p.m, right here on Talk.
The UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh my God, welcome back, 8:30. Ryan Saby from The Sun on the way. You're falling over yourselves. You're all really excited about Keir Starmer's speech at 9 o'clock. He's going to address the nation. Morning, Pete.
So what's he going to do now that's going to make our existence even worse? Except maybe for if he says, I'm going to resign, which will make all of our existences even better.
You're annoyed about that. You're also very annoyed about Lisa Nandy. There's much derision. Do you want to play that clip again? Lisa Nandy said, I think reform's full of fascists. This was how she described it. Have a listen.
I'm not sure that labels are particularly helpful, but like I said, I've got a lot of experience of dealing...
You're not saying no?
Living with the consequence... Well, I've got a lot of experience of living with the consequences of othering and people who are trying to divide us from one another. And I guess I would just say that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, in my experience, it usually is a duck.
Brilliant. So she was being questioned whether she thought reform was fascist. Good morning, Jess. This is Trevor Jenkins. Removing juries, removing free and fair elections, giving digital ID cards, censoring free speech on social media and semi-incest in the form of first cousin marriage. Who sounds more fascist then? Labour or Reform? Lisa Nandy, if you look like a duck and walk like a duck, you're probably a totalitarian socialist, love. Brilliant. Phil in Nottingham. Can I ask Lisa Nandy, if it walks like a man and it talks like a man but wears a dress, is it a bleeding man? Brilliant, love it. And Nandy, you can go duck yourself, says Benjamin. Honestly, it's all cracking off today. Loads and loads of you wanting to get involved. Please, Jez, there's one thing about Miserable Monday that cheers me up. It's listening to another radio. No, it's bless. It's been very nice. And Joanna from Salisbury, maybe Starmer's going to announce Wes Streeting's demise or announce who's leaving Reform to copy Kemi. Many people think that he is going to announce that he's joining Reform. I don't think that's going to happen. Let's say a very good morning to the Sun's deputy political editor, legendary Ryan Saby. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy.
It's all good on here, mate. Did you see that Lisa Nandy speech? If it walks like a duck and looks like a duck, it is a duck.
Yeah, no, she was. I think it's something she said last week, and obviously she got pressed on it yesterday, and it's created a bit of a row because obviously Reform have hit back, but also doesn't play particularly well with some people who are maybe in her constituency who are thinking of switching to Reform, who are probably in that sort of position and think, well, are you labelling the party? Are you labelling me for having?
And also, Ryan, let's get serious. What is it? Not duckist? How do you think ducks feel? I mean, it might not be fascist. It's anti-duck, I think. I mean, it's disgraceful. Listen, they're a bunch of idiots. Do you have any inside knowledge on what the 9 o'clock Keir Starmer talking to the nation is, my friend?
Yeah, what I'm expecting is Keir Starmer to lay out sort of pretty on the line about what's happening with Greenland. Now, I think Keir Starmer he's always in a tricky position, but I think he's in a particularly tricky position on this when it comes to diplomacy, because on the one hand, he's got to, stick with his European allies when it comes to Greenland. And on the other hand, he's got to, not be too aggressive to wind up Donald Trump over what he's doing. But what Donald Trump has done, not only over Greenland, but the threat of imposing tariffs really puts Keir he's got a real dilemma over this. So I expect him to go pretty hard on Donald Trump, but not go so far as to really, really antagonise. I expect it to be a really, really forceful message. And I think one thing that you will see, we talk about never hear Keir, always on the world stage, always travelling all over the place. So I think this is going to be the moment where he can say, look, I travel around the world, I travel to America, I speak to Donald Trump. And because we are close allies, because we are friends, I can tell them some hard truths. And I think it's going to be that kind of message that we're going to get across this morning.
I think it's really interesting because you say that he's, and this isn't flippant, you say that he's in a difficult position. We were playing footage there of the first time he met Trump, and Trump's holding a file and some papers drop out of it, and Starmer flings himself to his knees and picks up the paper while Trump just looks down at him. I understand this special relationship more than people know. But I'm sure that Trump knows he's got Starmer by the short and curlies. And I'm sure it is difficult for him to say today, no, you can't do that. But stand with your allies. This 81 billion trade tariff that the European Union could tally against them, they won't do that. And I keep going back in my head to when he first got into the White House, he was hacked off naturally, I think, about how much people were paying into NATO. They were paying far more in defending Europe. And he postured and everybody put their hands in their pockets. And I just hope, but I could be wrong, that this is the same thing. He's a deal maker, but he stands up to everybody. But I don't see a raft of politicians, starting with Starmer, that have the cojones to do that, pal.
Yeah, I think so. And I think one thing that, as you say there about Donald Trump, this is a starting position. He is a deal maker. He is a negotiator. Yeah. And I think this is where he comes from. I think there was in one of his social media messages over the weekend saying this is his opening position. Now, I think that's exactly where we are. And what he'll do is he'll try and get, maybe in a few weeks or even this week, when they all meet in Davos. Donald Trump was meant to be going to Davos this week. That's
is it this week? Is it to Davos? Is this when the millions of them get in their gas-guzzling jets and fly to the Brazilian rainforest to talk about net zero, yeah? Wow.
It's this week. Donald Trump due to speak there on Wednesday. Now, this was all meant to be about Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky also going, but this is now going to be totally overshadowed. I think we've got 70 heads of state. We've got Friedrich Merz from Germany going there. There is some talk of Keir Starmer going there. Now, I think if things don't calm down over the next 48 hours, I expect Keir Starmer, why wouldn't he go to have face-to-face talks? And why wouldn't Emmanuel Macron? Why wouldn't all these people go to Davos? Rachel Reeves is already there, but why wouldn't you extend that to Keir Starmer just to have that FaceTime and explain to him that what he's doing, not only over Greenland, but also over the tariffs, over trying to get us on side about his plan, that, things need to, ratchet down a little.
Couldn't agree more. Let's talk about the other big thing politically. Ryan will be dominating. We've talked Starmer and the Downing Street announcement at 9 o'clock, and no, Debbie's not going to announce his resignation. Let's talk about defections. Another Tory, quite, I'd say, high-ranking in terms of the right of the party. Andrew Rossingdale, MP for Romford, former Foreign Affairs spokesperson. He's resigned overnight. He's going to join the ever-swelling ranks of Reform on the back of January. Where do you, as a political editor, stand in terms of, we've got the one argument that is you don't want to become the Tory party 2.0, but at the same time, you need experience if you're going to go into government.
Yeah, I think again, Nigel Farage got a real balancing act here because, look, the Reform ranks in the House of Commons have swelled in the past few weeks. Danny Kruger, now Andrew Rosendale, Robert Jenrick. It's almost like half, 40% of his parliamentary party are Tory MPs. Now, I think one thing, it's good for Nigel Farage. It keeps that momentum going, shows that they are still attractive to voters, keeps him in the news. But I think one thing that he has to be aware of is that all those people who may be thinking about switching to Reform, maybe, people in the Red Wall, Labour voters, they just look at the party and go, aren't they just the Tories? We had Nadhim Zahawi there the other week. I think he just has to be very, very careful.
I don't think the Zahawi thing would have happened if they'd thought that Jenrick was going to make that move. That would be my thing. Can I just say something that I rarely see, because I'm saying this, watching this out of the corner of my eye. I don't expect you to agree. How condescending is Susanna Reid on Good Morning Britain to Robert Jenrick? Looking down her nose whilst he's trying to explain himself. It's unbelievable. Let the man speak. Sorry, it just does my head in. You're not even a politician, love. I agree with you. It's a fine line. I'll tell you my line. My line would be that the Tory party left millions of people by going to the centre. And thus voters moved to Reform. So you could argue, could you not, Rye, that actually likewise with MPs, if they suddenly... But I think the deadline's quite important, the Nigel Farage set of May the 7th, because obviously you're not going to go, we've had the council elections, the Tories have been... I'd like to join Reform now. No, you've got to show your hand, and I guess prove that you bring something to the party. What I think is astonishing is what Isabel Oakeshott said. Because Farage does this himself, nobody genuinely knows anything, do they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, as you say about the May the 7th deadline, I think it's fascinating. I think that there'll be a lot of Tory MPs will be really deliberating about what they do. They'll be looking at the poll numbers in their constituency, realising that they will be out of a job in 3 years' time. So if they have to make that switch now.
Do you reckon Suella Braverman might be the next?
I think there is a chance. Now, in terms of the actual very, very next person, we're expecting tomorrow that it's going to be a Labour defection. Robert Jenrick has been out and about this morning talking about how that's going to be a former Labour MP. So let's just see the stature of that person. But I think it'd be good for Nigel Farage to see someone from Labour joining the ranks. And if he could get more of them before May the 7th, I think it really will provide a boost. But there will be people who Kemi Badenoch and the rest of the Tory party be looking at, just wondering whether they are going to follow Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick resigned from the Home Office. Suella Braverman walked away from the Home Office. So you just wonder, where is their future in the Tory party? What is the future of the Conservative Party? So it's just a matter of time. They've literally got weeks to decide.
Any idea, finally, Ryan? I know you're a busy man. Really appreciate you being on. Any idea who this Labour ex-MP could be at all? People said Kate Hoey. She hasn't been a member of the Labour Party for 8 years. She's an independent. Any thoughts?
The name that came to mind was Kate Hoey. A very sort of adamant, Brexiteer, former Labour MP. She's in the House of Lords. It wouldn't surprise me if it was her. They've built this name up over the past week, and sometimes when you build those names up, they're not quite the really, really big names. So I expect someone who we've definitely heard of, someone who's been in the public eye for a long, long time, but not obviously as now we know, it's not going to be someone switching from the cabinet or ministerial ranks. So it'll be a name that we all know.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Ryan Saby, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun. We appreciate your time. That Labour defection, Robert Jenrick doing the rounds this morning. He will be... God, I'm watching the GMB interview. Honestly, love, just don't wind me up. So condescending. Julia Hartley-Brewer, the Queen of Westminster, could teach Susanna Reid how to ask a question. Julia will have Robert Jenrick on her show after 10 o'clock this morning. Whatever you think about what's going on, whether you're pro these Tories defecting, you're anti it, you want to know who the Labour person is, don't forget Keir Starmer at 9 o'clock. What's he going to announce? I am going to reform. No, you're not. Dave, good morning.
Hi, Jezza. Dave from Manchester. If it sounds like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it's probably a 6'2" male with a beard who's pregnant.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
She's got the main man, Robert Jenrick, live and exclusive with Julia from 10 o'clock. This is Talk Breakfast. It's the home of Alarm Clock Brits, and we're on until Julia. 0344 499 1000. Brian Hobbs says, what a ridiculous time to address the nation, Starmer, at 9 o'clock. Only the welfare brigade and the civil servants working from home will be listening. That's assuming they're out of bed, whilst the rest of us at work paying the tax receipts so they can do bugger all. Richard's in Gloucester. Morning, Jez. Starmer is doing his talk at 9 as he's talking to his audience on benefits, watching daytime television. Yeah, I know, daytime television. It's not what it was. I'm joking. It's better. Morning, JK. Enjoying the show. It seems that Robert Jenrick, who is a brilliant addition to Reform, could be a Trojan horse, and there will be more Tory defections of the best following him. Don't believe a word, says Jackie, that Starmer utters any announcement with propaganda for the May elections. He is a communist who hates this country. So, says Linda in Deal, Starmer is going to speak to the nation. I don't want to hear his stupid voice. He speaks a load of rubbish. He's just a snivelling worm. Oh, dear. Nick's in Bangor. Lovely. Morning. I don't know why I've done that. Morning, Jez. I reckon that Labour politician joining from could be Kate Hoey. Baroness Hoey, got to be worth a punt. Yeah, maybe. But she hasn't been a member of Labour for 8 years. Cliff says, I wonder whether the well-known Labour figure could be somebody like Lord Sugar. Richard... Jeremy, no ring for Isabel from Richard Tice. I think he should change his name by deed poll to Richard Tite. Brilliant, like it. And Linda's in Cumbria. Great show. You usually manage to cheer me up. Yes, we were all members of another party once upon a time. Nigel won't stand any nonsense, as he has shown that with Lowe and Habib. Nigel is my next Prime Minister. Russell is in Bedfordshire. Jez, can people recognise not every Tory defector is accepted? Good point. That's been made. I have to say that, right? That's absolutely true. Just this, and we'll go to our next segment. Morning, Jez. Going back to last week's press conference announcing Jenrick's defection to Reform, forget about what was said for a minute. Look at the way Farage conducted it. In control, relaxed, speaking without notes, countering lefty media snipes with clear answers and humour. Contrast that with robotic Starmer, who uses word salads to avoid straight answers. Or even Kemi, whose witty comments at PMQ are so obviously scripted and rehearsed. I want an authentic leader who speaks from the heart. It's genuine people like Nigel, Tyson, Sarah that I want to be led by. 8:45. Loads of you will have an opinion. 87222. I just want to talk about a story that should frankly shock us all. It's frightening, this. Health bosses are investigating after it emerged that NHS midwives were being taught about the potential benefits of cousin marriage, despite the practice increasing the risk of birth defects. Official midwifery guidance used for teaching now branded concerns about the risks of congenital disease or birth defects as exaggerated and unwanted, as 90% of kids that are born out of, well, a relationship between cousins will be okay. But that means 1 in 10 won't. We'd be delighted to be joined by my good friend, Dr. Aaron Ghosh, doctor at the Ghosh Medical Group. He's got the dodgy background because he doesn't want you to see how palatial his house is. And also Dr. Mutha Krishna, professor of economic psychology at the London School of Economics. God, you sound far more intelligent than that other one, Aaron Ghosh, who I'm going to start with. Aaron, I know we've talked about the NHS in many ways. We've talked about money in, we've talked about strategising how it's run. This madness, this type of madness, is why the British public are losing faith. As long as, you know, we can talk about queues and service. Are you joking me? Health bosses are investigating after it emerged that midwives were being taught that first cousins' marriage is okay. What the hell is it going on about? This is outrageous.
I mean, it's so confusing because they brought out an article only last year saying it's not okay, and it's based on one of the largest studies to do. They're also saying that we didn't intend for this advice to come out as advice. Well, then why put it on your website and tell everyone this is what we're asking you to do? So I think I can understand why people feel very confused with this information. I still think there's a lot more in that studies that we don't talk about. So it's not just about genetics and about genetic conditions. We're also talking about tight-knit communities. And this is the same thing in not just one particular community. People sometimes think we're picking on Pakistani communities, but actually we see this in Jewish communities and we see this in other ethnic minority groups. And what we have to be very careful of is that the genetic pool in Britain, and this is what we're talking about, for these communities is very small. Yep. So culturally, what they might do in Pakistan or what might do in other countries doesn't always have the same consequences here in Britain. And it's very important we get that message across, because it's not just about health conditions, Jeremy. We're talking about how many times they attend their GP appointments, how many times that they are falling behind in school, how many more health issues they've got as a family. So there's a lot more social, economic and social health issues here than just giving the advice that it's fine because we overhammed the previous advice.
Great advice. Michael, you've been nodding your head profusely to what Aaron's been saying there, my friend. Welcome to the show.
I mean, Dr. Ghosh is exactly right. What we're seeing here is not only a practice at unusually high rates. So in some of these communities, they're referred to as Baradari communities, you see cousin marriage rates at 70 to 90%. And repeatedly over generations. So what you're actually seeing is a very small population that are repeatedly marrying their first cousins, such that the genetic relatedness begins to approach that of half siblings. So what we're really talking about here is incest. And then the lifetime health effects aren't just at what we're measuring at birth, which may or may not show itself. It's a lifetime of disability. So of course, the communities that practice this, from the Irish travelers to very specific groups of Pakistanis, primarily from the Kashmir region, show disability rates much higher than most other groups, including from South Asia. So you see this played across in every measure you might look at. And that's only the genetic and medical side of it. On the other side, what we also see are a whole host of social problems that emerge, because by marrying your cousins, what you're effectively doing is turning family trees into family webs, closing off outsiders, right? So you get this high level of tribalism that allows for things like grooming gangs, allows for radicalization, all of the things that we find endemic in these communities. So it's not like cousin creates it.
I completely agree with both of you. I want to ask a question that will cause Aaron to put his head in his hands, but I have to ask it, and I probably won't ask it in the right way. I mean, to many people, this is abhorrent. And to many people, they would assume that this would only take place in certain religions or certain creeds or certain demographics. How many of these marrying your cousins are in fact nothing more than arranged marriages, Aaron?
A lot of it in the communities are arranged marriage. So what they might call a love marriage is still not seen as something that's commonly practiced. But let's not just put this to communities. I think Queen Victoria married her first cousin in this country here. It was a practice that was normal at some point, even in Great Britain. It's just that these communities have continued it, and we have decided that it's not something that we would like to do. And I think that's important, that it is very much a cultural thing. It's very much, as correctly as my colleague there said, something that you have to be very, very aware of. That you can embed certain ideas, and once you've got marrying cousins, it's actually very difficult then to break that norm. It's very difficult for a young woman to say, I don't want to marry my cousin, because she's in a culture where everyone else has married their cousins. So it becomes the norm to do that, which is a very strange but unfortunate situation for some of these young people that they find themselves in.
Final word from you, Michael, because somebody in the background has just pointed out that if you do marry your cousin, your aunt becomes your mother-in-law. It's slightly messed up to the average person, and I'm being completely honest. Driving in their car listening this morning, they're going, that's disgusting, man. You can get birth defects, socially you're causing all sorts of problems. What's going on? And I think, we try and talk to the average man and woman on the street. They'll be texting me in their millions going, this is sick, man. You get that, right?
I mean, it's just to say that it isn't necessarily an Islamic problem. In Indonesia and Malaysia, the rates are 3%. Across history, it's about 10%. What we're talking about is the difference between, accidentally having a drink while you're pregnant and binge drinking every day. We're seeing just rates that are disproportionate by any standards, with consequent effects. So it's a very specific issue, very specific to Britain.
You guys are great. You should do a television show together. You see, both of you don't show your backgrounds. I've worked this out. This is what the medical fraternity do, you see. It's all very private. Aaron, thanks, me old son. We'll speak soon. Michael, great to meet you for the first time. 8 minutes to 9, live across the UK. Aaron Ghosh, Michael Muthakrishnan, talking there about this story that the NHS are investigating after it emerged that NHS midwives were told to say, having sex with you, marrying your cousin, having a baby is all right, because 9 out of 10 times the baby will be absolutely fine. Most people are going, what the hell? Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. In about 10 minutes, Keir Starmer will be addressing the nation. Simon says, do you see what I did there? I will be watching Starmer's speech this morning. You see, I'm badly constipated at the moment and have been for a couple of weeks. And if this waffle doesn't coax it out, nothing will. This is Talk.
If you're foreign, we've got 1.3 million foreigners on universal credit in this country. That's £12 billion of our taxpayers' money a year we're spending. So £1 billion a month we're giving foreigners. Why? If I go to Spain and I lost everything, would Spain give me benefits? No, they wouldn't. They'd put me on a flight straight back. That wouldn't be racist. But if we start deporting some of these foreigners, it's racist and the left wing go crazy. So we've got to sort out our system, otherwise we're going to be bust.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 5 to 9. I can't get my eyes off GMB, where you would think that Susanna Reid has had a nasty smell put under her nose. Robert Jenrick will be, he's on there right now, he will be with Julia Hartley-Brewer, a proper broadcaster and interviewer. She will have Robert Jenrick from 10 o'clock this morning, 5 to 9. 0344 499 1000. Oh, perhaps our dear leader at 9 will show us his favourite positions from the Starmer Sutra. Please don't. What bloody thought is that? Can you push the sports button, please?
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Very good morning to Jack Ross, the football reporter from The Sun. He might want to talk about Thomas Frank on the verge of being sacked by Spurs. He might want to talk about how Manchester United, under Carrick, beat Man City. He might want to talk about the AFCON final. But if he's any sort of reporter, he'll say, good morning, Jez, well done.
Well done to West Ham. And I think that makes it all the more embarrassing for Tottenham, doesn't it?
May, we're still going to be relegated, but I had fun on Saturday. I mean, Tottenham have to be particularly crap if they lose to my team, who are rubbish, man.
I can imagine you enjoyed it. I think the thing that makes it all the more worse is that it was Callum Wilson, who they were trying to get out of the club a week earlier, that came on and won it for you. I think that sort of sums up the situation West Ham are in. I think they're still 5 points off. It could still be done, but it's going to take a bit more spending this month.
Teams above them are winning, aren't they? Let's talk about Thomas Frank. It's all over the back of the Sun today. Usual fantastic coverage in Sunsport. Frank on the brink. Spurs boss faces sack today with fans furious. Interestingly, they talked about a project. They said, you know, we're looking long term. But I mean, I'd like to talk to you about Conor Gallagher. Why did he go there? But Frank, you know, Thomas Frank. Quick question: out of his depth, does he need to be given more time? Because when the fans turn toxic, you're toast, aren't you?
That's the problem. I think the message from within, from the new hierarchy at Spurs, is that we want to stick with him, we believe in him, we want to give him the support. And to do that in the face of all this vitriol from the stands is going to be incredibly hard. They either need to come out today and say we're with him and then spend another 50, 60 million on him this month, or, as it feels like they're going to do, make the decision, say it's not work, it's never going to fit with the fans, and see if they can move on. If I was them, I'd get on the phone to Oliver Glasner and see if you can tempt him away from Palace a few months earlier, but I can't see them doing that.
I think there'll be an interim. They're telling me that what I'm hearing is it could be an interim, somebody like Robbie Keane, go down the Manchester United route, because, of course, in the summer, big managers will be available. Thomas Tuchel will be available. Loads of them. So Gareth Southgate.
Pochettino's going to be available again as well.
Pochettino, you know, all of that. So fascinating. Just very quickly, Manchester United. Jesus, how good was that under Carrick?
I know, it's this situation where Ruben Amorim's going to be sat at home with his feet up and gone, where was that? Why weren't you doing that?
Will he be counting his 12 million? Yeah.
Well, yes, that will help distract him, I'm sure. But it was a lot more compact, organised. I think the big thing with United is really enjoy the moment. They've been so poor that you've got to live in the moment with them. Just don't get carried away. Give him the job now. Don't listen to Rio Ferdinand if he's going on about giving him a contract now. Ignore all of that.
That happened with Solskjaer for 5 games. Gave him a contract. Listen, Carrick's done well. 1 game. Simple as that. You know, 1 game. Who do you support?
Southampton, so we won't go over that.
Listen, mate, it is always a pleasure. I know it's always quick, but brilliant stuff on the back of Sunsport as ever. Frank on the brink will keep you updated throughout the day on Talk. Will Thomas Frank survive? Maynard leads the charge. Man United beating Man City. But the big sports news, thank you, Joss, was West Ham actually winning a game, which is absolutely delightful, isn't it? Right, it's almost 9 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. An hour to go on breakfast. We'll go head-to-head. Matthew Torbett, former Labour advisor, and James Price, former government government special advisor, live and exclusive after the news at 9. And don't forget, Julia Hartley-Brewer has Robert Jenrick at 10 o'clock. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Jezza. Steve from Leeds. Watching Lisa and Andy yesterday on Laura Koonsberg, she kept on repeating that Greenland, or Greenlanders, should have the say in what happens to their country. Don't seem to remember the Chagossians having a say when they were palmed off. So, double standards, but nobody ever picks up on that in any interview with Labour. Have a good show, mate. Bye.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth, Super Bowl 60, and you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for two to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, I can't wait for this. Just gone 9 o'clock. Julie here from 10 with Robert Jenrick. Ahead of that, we're going head-to-head with Matthew Torbett, ex-Labour advisor, and James Price. But very soon, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about things that matter. Our leader, Sir Keir Starmer, will be addressing the nation. Let's just cut to... Can we cut to where it's taking place? Oh, 2 flags. Is he allowed to have them? It's going to be about, presumably, Greenland. It's going to be slagging off Trump. He's heading to Davos. He wants to look strong in front of his European allies. Matthew Torbett, very good morning. James Price, a very good morning. Let's split the screen. What are you expecting? Do you expect, Keir Starmer to say, I am defecting to reform instantly?
That would be helpful. We can get Andy Burnham in then. So
here we go. By the way, we've got this all wrong. James Price is on the left, if you're looking at the screen, and Matthew Torbett's on the right. This is a mess, man.
I imagine it'll be cautious. He'll aim to show that he's standing up for, the British people, but doesn't want to annoy his friend Donald, who isn't really his friend, because we've got nothing from this fawning for the last 18 months other than tariffs. So I think it'd be a lot of words, but not a lot said.
Interesting. James, good morning, my friend. Looking lovely in the countryside. I mean, have Europe got the balls to inflict this 81 billion or whatever it is, £1 trade war against Donald Trump? Because he's calling the shots, and I think everybody is in agreement he shouldn't get Greenland, but the man postures and nobody does jack about it.
Well, it all goes back 2,500 years, which is a very me answer, I know, to Thucydides talking about the war between the Spartans and the Athenians. And the Athenians go to a small, weak group of people, the Melians, who say, well, why should we have to do what you want us to do? And the Athenians say, the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. And the Melians end up all being killed and put into slavery. And I'm not sure quite that's going to happen, but this is the fundamental first truth of international relations, that if you are strong, you have cards to play. If you are weak, you have to lump what the strong do to you. And we've done a pretty good job since the end of the Second World War of putting in international institutions that partly mollify that and give a voice to smaller people. But I think we've all fallen for the idea that that stuff counts versus hard power, whether that's economic or indeed military. And Europe for so long now has been so weak.
You're right, we're screwed financially, guys. We haven't got an army. You say we're fawning. I've never believed this special relationship is as special as people make it out. But let's make the point. When he came back into the White House, Trump, I'd have done the same. I'm paying billions into NATO, and this lot who I'm defending are paying jack, so I'm going to posture, and all of a sudden they put their hands in their pockets. So I'm sort of holding on to the hope that this might be the same, but they're telling me he's quite serious about Greenland. I don't quite know why. Is it minerals?
it can't be, because you have to leave the drills on 24 hours a day to even get anywhere near extracting. It's incredible, but almost impossible.
You think I'm taking advice on bloody drilling from the Labour Party? You won't drill anyway. You just want wind
many
farms.
talents, thank you very much, Jez. There's very broad knowledge of all
The
sorts.
next thing I'm going to hear is Matthew Talbot's got a directorship of a fracking company somewhere.
You go read it elsewhere then, Jez. Fine by me. Fine by me. But no, his whole thing is about ownership. He wants to feel like he has something. So I think Venezuela showed that America is back in the empire game, and I think the concern is that when you have expansionist empires, because China will go, well, we need something now, is it Taiwan, Russia or in Ukraine, those empires eventually bump into one another, and that's how wars happen.
Do you think Trump's strong enough? No. Do you think Starmer's strong enough to stand up to Trump, Jay?
No, I don't particularly. But he is in a difficult situation, as all post-war British prime ministers have been, because we have got this sort of awkward balancing role, both physically and politically, between the United States and between continental Europe. If we play that right, we can get the advantages of both sets. We can trade well with the European Union and the other European countries, and we can do this. There's still very, very crucial defence security pacts we've got with the United States, and none of us have got the highest levels of security clearance, but I can tell you that there's a huge amount that's done between the security services in Britain and the United States. They share all kinds of things, and that's where the special relationship really is at its best. And I hope that this is just a bit of posturing from Trump that's gone too far. We know he makes these kind of outrageous first demands as per the art of the deal, and then gets rowed back to something he actually wants. And I hope that's just all that's going to happen with this Greenland deal. And it's not about minerals or anything like that. I think if we look at it, though, it is about the fact that you've got, if you go and have a look at an actual globe and see where Greenland sits, and the fact that if large-scale kind of nuclear weapons and things like that were to be pointed at the United States, a lot of them would end up going over that bit of the world, whether from China or Russia, being pointed at the US. And therefore, in terms of missile defences and all these sorts of things, that's where it really becomes crucial. And I think this is a first step of the United States securing that Western hemisphere. But I don't think we're moving, as was just suggested there, to spheres of influence. I think if you can sort out your backyard, as America is trying to do, then it will be able to focus more on the threat from China. And as you said, Jeremy, encouraging European countries and NATO countries to spend more on defence so we can look after our own continent. Why should voters in Indiana and Ohio be paying loads of money to defend a rich, lazy continent that can't be bothered to defend ourselves? And in the case of Germany, they still give more money to the Russians in oil than they've given in support to Ukraine.
I mean, you'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
I think they'd be more annoyed paying $700 billion for out of their own taxpayers' money for a land that they're never going to visit.
Maybe, James.
Yeah, well, in total plausible, they can vote the Republicans out if that's the case. I certainly think they should be having a better conversation about this, and that Trump has not been fulsome and forthcoming about the whole gamut of it. Fundamentally, though, this isn't a conversation about the United States so much as it is about Britain, and we are in a fundamentally very weak position because the Labour Party in particular, but my party, the Conservatives, have been pretty weak on national security and defence for far too long, and we've been funding the level of threat that the Treasury thinks we can afford to face, not the level of threat that's actually out there in the world.
Let me jump in, guys. Defections. Sorry, we're building up to a very important moment. Can we cross back to Keir Starmer? Is he ready to speak? Back to the room? No. I'm still in the toilet, preparing my speech. Now, what is he doing? Getting his ducks in line. Talking of which, this is my next thing. Reform. Before we talk about the defections, Lisa Nandy. So Lisa Nandy on Trevor Phillips yesterday on Sky Sunday, she was asked if the Reform Party was full of fascists, right? This is what Lisa Nandy... You've got to be on your best behaviour. This is what Lisa Nandy said about whether Reform voters are all fascists.
I'm not sure that labels are particularly helpful, but like I said, I've got a lot of experience of dealing...
You're not saying no?
Living with the consequence... Well, I've got a lot of experience of living with the consequences of othering and people who are trying to divide us from one another. And I guess I would just say that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, in my experience, it usually is a duck.
Matthew? So if it walks like a man and dresses like a man but doesn't have a penis, it can be a woman, somebody said earlier. Or if it looks like an idiot, talks like an idiot and says idiotic things, then it's Lisa Nandy. What does that mean?
I'd agree with Lisa Nandy in that labels aren't always helpful. I think you know, there's a better way of going about politics. I won't, however, lecture a mixed race woman who grew up in Manchester in the 80s about her own experiences. So if that's how she feels, that's how she feels. I think you've got to try and bring people into the tent, though, not push them away by thinking you're calling all of their supporters whatever a duck is doing.
Whatever. That was brilliant. Jay, Lisa Nandy, honestly, I despair. I despair, man.
Well, are we surprised by any of this? Let's not forget that the Deputy Prime Minister, the sage of Tottenham himself, David Lammy, said that Brexiteers were worse than Nazis. And, you know, there is that internet joke that the longer an argument goes on, the likelihood of people being compared to Nazis increases exponentially. But one of the first things the Nazis did when they got into power? Oh, yeah, they banned jury trials, just like David Lammy is doing.
Wow,
Maggie. And they banned people from being able to speak freely, and they banned books. It seems a little bit like it's the Labour Party doing those things, not Reform or the Tories or anybody else.
Maggie's
I just
quite
think glass houses, throwing stones always ends badly.
Lovely. Nandy is indirectly calling Reform voters fascists. Well, Hillary Clinton tried that one with the deplorables remark, and we all know where that ended up. That's quite an interesting point. Gentlemen, defections. We finished the show, sadly, on Thursday when all of the Jenrick stuff happened. And I have to say that Robert Jenrick is live and exclusive with our very own Julia Hartley-Brewer from 10 o'clock this morning. Do not miss it. Get your calls in nice and early for questions. What did you make of the whole thing? I just want to put my two pennyworth in, whether you think that they should attract people like that or not. I thought his speech was absolutely world-class. I thought he showed himself to be a really shrewd operator with the speech.
I wouldn't have trusted him. If that's how he speaks about his former friends, I wouldn't fancy being mates with him now. I think that's the thing. Listen, I got someone to defect in the last Parliament. I find them to be duplicitous, never trust them.
Sorry. I got someone to defect.
Yeah, Christian Wakeford was the first person to cross from the Conservatives to Labour in...
But when he did that, did you then trust him?
No, never. it was an opportunity.
Well, you know what happened when he defected, right? He raised the average IQ of both parties.
This is supposed to be head-to-head, not a laughing, you two. What's going on, man?
I think that normally, very rare, you'll have a Damascene conversion and you'll have seen that you're going to lose your job in a few years, so you're going to cross early.
In his defence, in Robert Jenrick's defence, and of course this is the big issue that I want to talk about. Everybody wants to talk about this morning. You know, Nigel said you've got to come before May the 7th, obviously before the elections, because you're not going to watch the local election and go, oh, we've all been screwed, I'll join, right? If voters, I'm getting the other side to both of you, can lose their political home, the Tory principles, and that party reappears as Reform and voters can move, why can't politicians? But I get very quickly that people could be opportunists. Robert Jenrick resigned from the government. He resigned from the Tory government, didn't he, on principle? Suella Braverman resigned. There's two different people. But Rossendale today, I don't know. But you could also argue that Reform are making such noise that people see the beauty or the message and they want to be part of that.
I would say a particular sort of person wants to be part of it. It's interesting what a big poll lead will do for your beliefs and convictions. I think they need a Labour person. I know Kate Hoey is likely to be the one that goes this week.
Right, have you heard that? Because she hasn't been a Labour person in...
Yeah, and that's why it doesn't really count for me.
I don't think it is.
This is not me sort of making a big thing of it, but... and people say, well, you would say that. No, I just think...
No, well, I'll say it. She hasn't been a Labour supporter for 8 years.
Some would say possibly ever. She might as well have been in the DUP the time she was in there.
Look at my face. I don't think it's her.
Well, we'll wait and see then. But she would be someone that... I think you need someone where Reform can go, we speak for the country, not just the Conservatives.
That would probably help, Jay, the argument about it's just becoming the Tory Party 2.0, right? I think Matt is right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I say this as someone who's been a member of one political party for, 18 years or something mad. Most people don't do it. It used to be the case in the 50s. The Conservative Party had 3 million members. You met your spouse there. The Labour Party did the same, a kind of broad-based social movement before it was a political one. That's changed, and people are not really that ideological about parties. They're not that dogmatic about them. And when Andy Burnham, who was mentioned just now, 11 years ago lost to Ed Miliband, he stood up at a hustings and said, the party comes first. And when Liz Kendall said the country comes first, and people booed her. So I think that people find that kind of tribalism towards parties a little bit peculiar. And if parties change the beliefs that they've got, it doesn't surprise me that people want to change those parties. And I think fundamentally this is the debate that's happening on the right. People will look at Reform and the Tories, and either they'll say, all right, Zahawi and Jenrick, they're rubbish, they're crap, I'm going to stay with the Tories because it's a new leaf, or they're going to say, OK, they've got experience, I'm going to go with them. And that,
but
I
that's
think, is
the
a necessary
argument, guys,
part of
isn't
the
it?
dialogue.
You've got people saying you can't be the government because you haven't got any experience, and now people are saying, oh, you're just going to have everybody. I made the point between 7 and 8 and 8 and 9, I'll make it now. I spent last weekend as an independent broadcaster interviewing 200 would-be Reform MPs for the Welsh Senate and the Scottish Parliament, and I'll tell you too, because you're friends. It surprised me, the quality. I passed about 73% of them with David Bull, and I was amazed. Different, men, women, young, old. It was good. It was good. So you've got to find that. But there will be people saying, oh, no, we don't, we need experience. Then you get experience. I get it. I think you're right about a Labour person, but it's not Kate Hoey.
Interesting. No, I think that, and there's nothing wrong with not having experience necessarily. I think you do need experience.
Yeah.
And I would say there doesn't need to be a big press conference every week. You need experience behind the scenes. That's where things go right.
My argument would be I'd take it even further than the chin than Farage. I'd be saying experience. All these people that have been in power are supposed to be experienced. So what a mess they've made. How can you go wrong just putting anybody in now?
Well, because people are selected because they're friends with the right people, not based on talent or any sort of meritocracy. And I think
if I ever end up in Parliament, I'm taking both of you as political spads. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's who you know, isn't it? But no, the point is, I think it's a really interesting time for everyone in this country. And the noise around Reform, Jay, the noise is not going away, and that says a seismic shift from the uniparty stuff that we've had forever, it seems. It's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I was more sceptical until recently. If you think back in the 1981 or something, that SDP alliance was on 50-something%, and I think that started to shrivel away earlier in the cycle than we've got to now. So the Reform thing does feel more real. And let's all remember that when we come to the 8th of May, as Nigel Farage keeps saying, if Reform have won in Wales or come second, and if they become, the official opposition in Scotland, that is absolutely massive, because it's been very difficult for a while for parties of the right to do well in those two wonderful parts of our United Kingdom, and that really does change the whole equation. Of course, then there's still maybe 2 years of this Parliament still to go, and Reform will have a big challenge of, again, all these new people, most of them will be inexperienced. Will they do a better job than the kind of legacy incumbents that we've had, or will they make a big mistake and give a route for the established parties to say, see, it's not quite as hard, it's not quite as easy as it looks, is it? Told you so.
Do you agree with that, Jay?
I think, a big challenge.
Do you agree with that, Matt? I see where he's cut. It's just a difficult one. It's like the defections, isn't it? You could be in either camp. You can say fresh blood, great, and then you can go, oh, but they won't know how to do it. And then you look at the mess of the last however many years: rent boys, cocaine, money bribes, people having to resign. Cabinet. I mean,
that was just in the morning.
Cabinet minister, I mean, go back, pinch it, all of that lot. I'm not sticking up for the Tories. Then you come to this lot. Oh, you can't be transport. So you've got a criminal record for nicking phones, or the best one of all. Well, the best two are the corruption minister is being done for corruption in Bangladesh, and the homeless minister who made somebody homeless out of a flat that she owns as a second home. All of them. I'm not saying Labour. It's just not been that quality. So if you're me, you think, can it be any worse? I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think Reform will almost certainly have people of that ilk, the same that any person that normally gravitates towards politics is a bit weird. You get the odd, I've worked in that building a long time. There's a lot of odd people, and power also means that wrong people gravitate towards it.
Do you feel that you're on the verge of moving towards Reform?
Everyone keeps asking me this at the minute. Why is everyone asking me?
Because I think you've sold your life down. I mean, you're now going out with the next Love Island star, selling your wedding photographs to every magazine, begging me to do your disco. And I think, basically, you're the typical champagne socialist, and I would very much expect that you would end up...
Jeremy, even socialists are allowed to drink champagne. We want the best for everybody.
I love it, man.
No, I tell you what, Jez,
I admire you because you have your views, and that's what I've always said about you, kiddo.
Well, I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but I received my subject access request back from the party about why I was removed from Labour Party conference, and I will make a statement when is the right time, but I think I have to very strongly consider whether being part of that party is a good use of my time for a group of people that clearly don't want me around.
I've always found, and James will agree with this, I make a joke of it, but you're one of the just most straight people I've ever spoken to, and I'll have you on forever. I don't care what your political... No, because you talk, you mean what you say, and that's important. But for you to question that, and I'm only joking. The other one, of course, is James Price. When are you joining Reform, James Price?
Well, we're all going to appear on a Monday morning press conference, are we? But I think this is a good point. Like for a lot of people watching, it'll just be considered really weird.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Who's arrived?
Turbulent in recent weeks. Events are moving fast. And in moments like this, what matters most is being clear about the values and the interests that guide us, even as circumstances change. The United Kingdom has a long history. Our values were not improvised. They were built patiently over time. And while we are pragmatic in how we pursue our interests, we are resolute in defending those values when it matters. So let me begin with the United States. The UK and the US are close allies and close partners. That relationship matters profoundly, not just to our security, but to the prosperity and the stability that people here depend upon. Under President Trump, as under previous presidents, we're determined to keep that relationship strong, constructive, and focused on results. And that approach is delivering. Through sustained engagement, we've seen significant US investment into the UK economy, running into hundreds of billions of pounds, supporting growth, skills and jobs right across the country. Our cooperation on defence, nuclear capability and intelligence remains as close and effective as anywhere in the world, keeping Britain safe in an increasingly dangerous environment. We've secured good trading terms in key sectors, including cars, steel, aerospace and life sciences, protecting British jobs and manufacturers. That is why we take the approach that we do.
No word of Greenland yet.
Because it delivers concrete outcomes in the national interest.
Get on with it, man.
I talk regularly to President Trump.
Do you?
And my team is in daily contact with all the key figures in his administration.
Brilliant.
These relationships matter. They deliver concrete outcomes in the national interest.
Let's have a bet how long it takes to mention Greenland.
Mature alliances are not about pretending differences don't exist. They are about addressing them directly, respectfully.
Matthew Talbot, one word review so far.
On Greenland,
Slow.
the right way to approach an issue
James Price, one word review.
is through
ChatGPT.
That's 2 words, even I know that. Sorry, I just lose it. He hasn't even mentioned Greenland. Am I wrong, right? You two, before we finish, are both professional sort of political...
I wrote speeches, I did communications, yeah.
Is he the most uninspiring, boring, robotic, I don't know, emotionless, cardboard cutout? There's nothing... I can't even get to the
I've worked for a few, Jez, I'll tell you the truth.
Have you?
Can't lie.
What, worse than that, man?
One in particular, yes.
Who?
No, I can't do that.
Of course you can. You're not going to be thrown out the party. Who?
I know. No, I think in this sort of climate where social media, everybody knows the news, you would have to have been under a rock to not know that something has happened over the weekend. You should come straight out of the traps. As many of you will have seen over the weekend, President Trump is going to put tariffs up on us because of Greenland. It's going to cost us £6 billion. And as much as I have a great relationship with America, I'm not prepared to sacrifice people.
Bingo.
But you have to be straight out of the blocks. This build-up, people will switch off, unfortunately.
This build-up is because
people.
he's too scared to come out and say, is it not, JP? You know, Trump's out of order. We've a relationship, but I'm standing for the British people. I'm not making you pay that money. We have to be strong. Matt is absolutely right, isn't he? You'd write the same speech.
Yeah, exactly. It's not much of a head-to-head this, so it's just the three of us against Keir Starmer.
Sorry, Greenland's been mentioned 7 minutes in.
It is extraordinary, isn't it? I think we just need to learn. Oh, is he back?
No, get rid of him. He's boring me. Back to James Price. Can't be having him.
Look, we should have learnt this with Theresa May, but we definitely need to learn it now. That just because Keir Starmer is totally bland and totally boring and totally vacuous doesn't mean he is competent. It is possible to be both boring and useless at the same time, and I'm afraid our Prime Minister is.
I love you two being on. So he's in the countryside, you're in metropolitan London. Joe, what are you off to now? Photo shoot or something?
I've got a busy day ahead of me, Jez.
Have you? We love having you on. How did the move go, Jay?
We're partway there. This is my mum and dad's house, but we wait for things to finish, and we haven't killed each other yet, so I think it's going well.
Is that you and the wife, or you and the mother?
All of the above. So a battle royale.
Actually, before you both go, I need to ask you a new thing on the mother news story thing. Health bosses are investigating after it emerged that NHS midwives across the United Kingdom are being taught the potential benefits of cousin marriage. Despite the practice increasing the risks of birth defects, official midwifery guidance used for teaching branded concerns about the risks of congenital disease or birth defects as exaggerated and unwarranted, because 1 in 10 children, if you have sex with your cousin and get pregnant, 1 in 10 are all right. Matthew Talbot.
I'd just like to reassure my cousins they have nothing to worry about with regard to this story.
James?
Yeah, look, just because I moved to the West Country doesn't mean I'm suddenly going to be in favour of this. But we should also say it's not just about the health outcomes. It's about the tribal behaviours that come of it. Because we never had this in a mass scale in this country, we were able to develop a meritocracy and we were able to develop a country before anybody else. If you think that, you need to keep everything quite literally in the family, that has broader repercussions for how you order a society beyond the disgusting health crises. We should ban this. It's sad we should ever have to come to it, but we should. And we all know the groups that are doing it and those that aren't.
There we go. 9:26. You're off for a busy day. Photo shoot with the Love Island star, the marvellous Matthew Talbot. James Price is off to mow the lawn, and I'm off to kiss my cousin. Back in 3.
Water cooler chat, it's so like, oh, I'm doing dry January. It's just like, go have a drink. Come on.
What I think about dry January, I don't like any of this puritanical stuff. And if you're going to spend a month not drinking, why choose the most depressing month of the year? I mean, January is a month when you feel like a drink and you're going to have a drink. So would I ever consider doing dry January, having done it once and having been condemned to dry December? Who does dry December?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 9:30. Ladies and gentlemen, just take a minute. Sir Keir Starmer addressing the nation. It took him 7 minutes, but he got to Greenland by saying the following. The dispute with Donald Trump over Greenland must be resolved through calm discussion between allies. That's not going to work, is it? Because Donald Trump's just going to say, do one and do what he wants to do. Loads and loads of you getting involved. Loads of you saying, listening to Hapless Starmer, he sounds like a Sunday school teacher. I'm hiding under the table. It's so cringeworthy. Good morning to Wayne. Morning, Wayne.
Morning, Jezza. It's Wayne from Erdington in Birmingham. How dare he stand there with them flags up? Keith Starling. What did he say? Our values were built over time. That's right, they was. And they've been destroyed overnight by you, you moron.
Brilliant. 9:30. He's not getting very good publicity. Who's this? Barry. Morning, JK. Before the referendum, Lisa, it looks like a duck Nandy, told everyone on TV that planes would fall out of the sky if you voted Leave. Have a nice day. Dick. Really? Talk. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it probably needs a few more minutes in the microwave. That would be your advice to Lisa Nandy. Sol, who says, I'm a proud Jew in Weybridge. Great show as ever, Jez. It's irrelevant what the PM says. I call him Keir Stomer, as we all know what he's full of. That's a bit harsh. Morning, JK. Starmer is going to announce he will offer the US free breakfast clubs if we give them Greenland. Oh, my God. And just to remind you all, I think he's about to enter the building, 9:30. We've got half an hour more at 10 o'clock. Julia Hartley-Brewer will have Robert Jenrick, who defected, of course, from Reform to the Tories last week on Thursday. He's been doing the rounds this morning. Julia with Robert Jenrick. Your questions to him, your text. Send it on text. Do a voice note, whatever you want. Julia will know they get them on between 10 and 1. Now, the Trump administration, apart from wanting to grab Greenland, also through Trump's personal lawyer, a guy named Robert Garson, said he'd been in talks with the State Department about providing sanctuary for Jews fleeing anti-Semitism in the United Kingdom. Mr. Garston, this is Robert Garson, Trump's personal solicitor. He was born in Manchester. He told The Telegraph that the UK is no longer a safe place for Jews. We say a good morning to author and columnist Jake Wallace-Simmons. How are you, Jakey? That's interesting news, isn't it, from America?
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, I have to say. I mean, anti-Semitism is bad in the UK, but it's also bad in America. I mean, they've just elected a new mayor of New York who's pretty anti-Semitic in my view. In America, you've got anti-Semitism coming from the far right, who've shot up synagogues in the past few years, as well as from the far left and the Islamists. Here, we only really have the Islamists and the far left to deal with, thank goodness. But look, I mean, overall, I think America probably is a better place for Jews than Britain at the moment, because the government here, you know, we've seen the news just over the weekend that schools are in the grip, it seems, of hard left trade unions, and the teachers seem to be all on the hard left, all voting Green, or most of them, and that where the hard left goes, anti-Semitism sadly follows. And we've seen, you know, in Bristol, that MP unable to go into his local school and give a talk because he was Jewish. We've seen teachers supporting Hamas openly and not being struck off. Time after time, we've seen problems in our schools, and also in the NHS. Every single public institution seems to be in the grip of the left and in the grip of anti-Semitism, and the Americans are right to point it out. It is a real danger, combined with the Islamist threat in this country, as we've seen in Birmingham and elsewhere.
I always, whenever I speak to you, whenever I talk about a subject that's very close to my heart, I want to start by apologising. I always feel like that. Let me ask you a different question today. How do we deal with the scourge that is anti-Semitism? Because I will not, and you know me, people are going to have to face up to the fact that it is rife in this country. And I've said it a million times, any form of racism is heinous and should be acted upon and dealt with. But it seems that in this country we have a blind spot. Is it because of the colour of skin? I don't know. But anti-Semitism is rife. I've got many friends whose lives are not the same. What does the Jewish community... You've told me, oh, we're going to leave Britain. Britain is... This story this morning about another country in the US. How does Britain clean its attitude and its act up, in your mind, Jake?
I think it comes down to looking at the sources of this stuff. I mean, there are many sources, but the two principal ones right now in modern Britain are Islamism, and the Muslim community as a whole, polls have shown, has a much higher chance of being anti-Semitic than the mainstream, and also the far left, the woke, the progressives. Those are the two sources of anti-Semitism right now, and they're also the sources of corrosion of our society as a whole. So those two things have got to be addressed. So in terms of addressing Islamism, of course, hate preachers, extremists, zero tolerance. They've got to be imprisoned, deported, got rid of. The Muslim Brotherhood has to be banned. The IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps from Iran, has to be banned. and we need to be much more serious about deportations and integration of our Muslim communities here in Britain. But the other, in terms of the hard left, they've got to be combated. They have for too long, for too many decades, been free to roll their tanks through our institutions, whether it's the civil service, whether it's universities, whether
Why?
it's
Though,
schools.
let me jump in. Why? Just explain to a non-Jew who doesn't get it. Why is there such... No, not why is there such outrage. Of course there's such outrage when people are vehemently racist against black people or Asian people, whatever it is. But why is there not the same level of horror when Jewish... Is it because the Jewish population went through what it went through and has closed itself in and become successful on the back of that? Is it jealousy? Is it because of what's happening in Israel? Was it before October the 7th? Why such hatred for what I think is an integral part of our country, the Jewish community? I genuinely don't understand it.
I think it could be because anti-Semitism, one of the unique qualities of anti-Semitism is that people who are anti-Semitic say, I'm not anti-Semitic, it's just that the Jews are evil. You know,
Based on what? Based on what?
Well, based on the genocide and baby killing in Gaza, based on the fact they've been killing babies since the Middle Ages. They kill babies in Norwich, based on the fact that they control the money markets and the media, based on the fact that they have puppet masters in politics, based on the fact that they rule the world and are bringing us all to a satanic destruction, that they killed Jesus. I mean, those are the reasons in the mind of the anti-Semite that Jews are evil. And they think, well, I'm actually the good guy fighting against this evil. I'm trying to save our country and our grandchildren and our world from this great satanic, what was that teacher? Great satanic evil the world faces, as a local school teacher in Wimbledon put it, and wasn't struck off. I mean, this is how they think. They think they are on the side of the angels fighting against the demon. And the problem is that it's very difficult to combat that because people who aren't paying a close attention think, OK, well, maybe Israel is evil. Look, we've seen war on TV. Maybe that means they are evil. Maybe you're right. Maybe you've got a point. Maybe it is about imperialism and colonialism. Maybe the Israelis are white supremacists. I mean, maybe they are carrying out apartheid. They use the language of human rights to further demonize Jews and legitimize the fact that they want to diminish, marginalize and get rid of Jewish interests in our country and around the world. And we fall for it. And as a result, they are teaching our kids in schools. They are teaching our kids at universities. They are running all of our public institutions, or their ideology is infecting all of those. And that's why Britain is in the grip of this stuff. And look, those guys also are hand in hand with the Islamists who want to actually kill Jews and want to bring us down and enforce a Sharia law over our country. So it's a pernicious threat. The threat that faces the Jews is the same one that faces Britain. They're trying to bring us all down, and we have to get tough by addressing the Islamist threat and addressing the threat from the hard left before it's too late.
Do you think a change of government would see anti-Semitism dealt with in a more aggressive way?
I do. I mean, look at Nigel Farage. He is the only, so far as I can tell, so far as I know, the only major political leader who has pledged to ban the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a jihadi group that is not banned in Britain, that's working throughout our country to radicalise Muslim communities, to pose as representatives of those Muslim communities and to advance Sharia law over our country. Farage is the only politician to have openly pledged to ban that, but the Tories also have in the past tried to combat it. They are also strong against
tried to combat it. Why do I have this argument with so many people? Tried to. We're an island, it's a democracy, you've got a mandate, pass it through Parliament and ban it. What is the issue? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, the Tories, they got a report about the Muslim Brotherhood in 2015, exposing the fact that it's a jihadi group that works to radicalise Britons in this country. Over the next almost 10 years, they worked through the system of banning it, and they almost came to ban it in 2024 when Rishi Sunak called an early election, and that put the kibosh on it. And of course, Labour aren't going to do anything about it, so it didn't happen. But it does need to happen. It's only one of the things that needs to happen. I mean, up and down the country, in mosques, hate preachers are giving grossly offensive and insightful sermons week after week against Jews and against the mainstream, calling for jihad in some cases. I mean, I've seen videos of them calling for jihad against the unbelievers, not just Jews, but the unbelievers in Birmingham universities. You know, we all know what the policing is like in Birmingham. So this is a structural endemic problem, and we've got to get to grips with it. And you're absolutely right. It requires political leadership because Labour ain't going to do it.
Mate, listen, really good to have you on. You know, there's always a platform here for you. I think anti-Semitism is a scourge, and as much as we can do, we will keep talking about it. Jake Wallace-Simmons, thank you very much indeed. What is it, 20 to 10? He's still talking. He started at... Oh...
assess and work on risk from the Russians. And so there's real clarity, I hope, about that. In relation
Right, can I just make a point? He said that the tariff threat over Greenland is a moment for the whole country to pull together. Great. Well, the country's not going to pull together because they don't like you. Morning, Carl.
Hi, Jeremy. Carl in Bury. As soon as you said Keir Starmer was about to speak in 10 minutes, I let out an absolutely massive sigh of, oh my God. That's how it makes you feel. It's like somebody getting the nails and scraping them down a blackboard, isn't it? It's like there's nothing worse than having to sit and watch that absolute garbage be coming out of that bloke's mouth, like, oh God. Having to wake up to that, there's nothing worse, is there?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So we're here until 10 o'clock, and the First Lady of Westminster has the interview. Robert Jenrick, newly defected from the Tories, of course, to Reform. Live and exclusive with Julia Hartley-Brewer from 10 o'clock this morning, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Keir Starmer's still droning on about whatever. June says, I'm not bothered what Stalin says because he'll do a U-turn and it'll all be hot air. Tony Gannon says, who gave away the Chagos Islands without seeking permission from the islanders? Oh, you did. I'm not listening to you either, Tootie. He's not doing very well today. Great listening to James and Matthew. Very funny. Hubby was listening as well. He's now asleep. Brilliant. It's not great, is it? Hello to John from Poole. Morning, mate. He says, great show. Jeremy, I don't know what's worse. Listening to Starmer's voice, you should have sacked his voice coach years ago, or the garbage that comes out of it. Both are utterly nauseating, Dave. You cut off... You cut off Starmer in his prime. Yeah, did you? Jez, Pete, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, not Rainbow. Tess in Lincolnshire. Morning, Jez. I'm sick of seeing everyone calling Jenrick a traitor, amongst other names. Sometimes the direction a party takes no longer aligns with the values of its members. When that happens, people are entitled to follow their own principles. Both Labour and the Tories have disappointed voters. And if individuals feel their party no longer represents them, they have every right to leave and pursue a different path. Reform all the way. Jez, your caller Gaynor may have a point about Starmer's speech. He is, after all, heading off for Davos soon. He'll want to look all big and bad in front of all of his friends. When he gets to the party, he can say, you see, I stood up to Donald Trump. Yeah, of course you didn't. Brilliant. Rich is in Leeds, so the NHS are... yes, no. Anyway, 17 minutes to 10. Morning, Nevin.
Morning, Jezza. I know you like your National Hunt racing. You may have noticed that Betty won at Ascot on Saturday. So I think we're going to get Frank Spencer this morning from Starmer. Clueless idiot running around with no idea what to do, flapping his hands, flapping his gums, picking up Trump's papers, and generally an embarrassment to our country. Some countries do have him. Have a good day.
See what he did there? Some countries do have them. That's because Michael Spencer was Frank Spencer, and the horse is coming to the final fence and it's Wonder Race. There you go. I can, in fact, do that impression. It's pretty crap. You see, on the back of that, that's what makes the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show different to others, right? We go from an impression of Frank Spencer to a former Conservative cabinet minister, a legend, Sir John Redwood. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy.
John, I saw you watching intently on the monitor, Keir Starmer. thoroughly inspiring speech about Greenland. He says, this is a moment for the whole country to pull together. This is how you deal with America, by conversation with your allies. One thing that always struck me about you, I remember early doors when we were talking several years ago, and we were talking about how you make things happen and the blob. And you went, well, in my department, I just told them what I wanted and got it done. And that was the way it was. He hasn't got the balls to stand up to Trump, has he, John?
Well, we'll see, won't we? I mean, he's had one conversation, we learn. He's spent a lot of political capital on trying to be close to the president, and rightly so. He's wanted a good relationship with our leading ally and our main individual trading partner. But now is the time. He's got to show that all that legwork is going to pay off, and he's got to be in the room to persuade the president of a new course of action, because I think we're all agreed that it would be completely wrong for the United States of America to use its military might to go and occupy Greenland.
Is it posturing or is he serious, John, do you think, Trump?
Well, I think he would do a deal, which is why it's worth talking to him and why you've got to be best friend, but with a very clear line to him, expressing it in terms of his interests, not in terms of our interests. You've got to say to him, your own party and your own Congress is going to be very unhappy with this crude military threat against an ally and a country that's trying to help you in a modest way defend the West. And it won't actually help the West's defence if you split up NATO like this. And then you go on to say, but you probably have legitimate concerns. Can there be access to the West and to America to all those mineral deposits? Maybe Greenland's got to give a bit of ground on that and say, yes, we do understand we need defence against other threats. And to do that, you need to have these minerals under the control of friendly Western countries. We're very weak and vulnerable on all this. And yes, America probably wants some kind of commercial payback, because America is going to be funding the main bills to provide the contingent forces and the actual forces on the ground for the defence of Greenland. And I think that the main protagonists who've got to sit down are obviously the government of Greenland, the government of Denmark, and the government of the United States of America. And I think Greenland might need a couple of referendums if progress is made. There might need to be a referendum to allow them to vote to be independent of Denmark, because I think it's a general feeling in Greenland being a colony is a bit out of date and not entirely helpful. But that would have to be linked to a referendum on a new deal with America for the new Greenland government, because they're going to need some money and some commercial support if they go it alone. And then you might be able to put together a really exciting package for Greenlanders, because Greenlanders very clearly don't want to be taken over by America, but they do need America to be the lead on their defence.
I don't want to sound like I'm blowing smoke, but I listened to you for 3 minutes talk more sense, and I think if I put you in a room with Donald Trump right now, there'd be a deal. Every side would have a conversation. And I don't want to make this show just about Starmer, but it just doesn't inspire me to think that he has the intelligence to do those things. And I've said to you before, this whole approach, this sort of reactive approach to being political, which is, you know, I'll ask a focus group. I mean, the thing he was saying today, this is a moment for us all to pull together. You know, just play hardball, but talk to him, look him in the eyes. I just don't think he's got it. Can I ask you, as I haven't got much time, my friend, and we love having you on, you're a Tory. Yet another defection overnight. Andrew Rossendale, MP for Romford, told that he's on the right of the party, former Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, disgusted by Kemi and her team's response to Chagos. Robert Jenrick, who's with Julia in 15 minutes on Thursday, high-profile defection to Reform. Are you next, Sir John Redwood?
No, I'm not. And I was sad to see Andrew go, because he's been a very stalwart campaigner for UK sovereignty. And I found it odd that he went over the Conservative response to Chagos, because the Chagos response has been extremely strong by the Conservative Party. Throughout, we have said that this is a foolish giveaway, and to add the extra problem of committing us to paying a load of money for the privilege of giving our islands away is mad, and to undermine this crucial base for Anglo-American forces throughout the Indian Ocean and the wider Pacific area is quite wrong. And what Andrew said was that he thought that the Lords should have voted it down on third reading. Well, what the Lords did was they put through a very strong motion condemning the whole policy and asking the government to think again. They don't normally vote a bill down on third reading, which has a majority in the House of Commons. But more importantly, I think the point Andrew missed was that there wasn't a majority in the Lords to vote the bill down on third reading, but by good whipping, there was a majority to send a very strong motion censoring the whole policy.
But I get that. Robert Jenrick, do you understand? I mean, the criticism for many inside reform is it's going to become the Tories 2.0. Other people are saying people like Jenrick have done it for personal ambition. Many others are saying, hold on a minute, the Tory party left us and moved left or centrist, and it doesn't represent what we now believe. It's full of wets. It's full of, you know, people who would gladly tie us back to the European Union, and reform is speaking our language. And if millions of people, voters, can move, don't politicians have the right? I want to know if you think the Conservative Party is weaker without Andrew Rossendale and, of course, Robert Jenrick.
Well, I just said that I think Andrew was a very good colleague, and he believes in a lot of things I believe in, and I was rather surprised by his decision. In the case of Robert, again, I'm very disappointed because Robert had made the decision to work with the Conservative Party to right the wrongs or the mistakes of the previous government. And he was speaking for all of us when he said we needed a much tougher and more successful immigration policy. And it was successful collaboration. But now he's decided to go. There are two issues for me. One is, why isn't he putting the test of his change of loyalties and views to the electorate? Because he's now committing to a very different manifesto under reform on the economy and benefits and nationalisation and so forth, compared to the one he stood on and was following as a shadow cabinet member. And does he remember that he was actually one of the problems for those of us who wanted to get Britain out of the European Union, because he was a very strong Remainer?
It's interesting, isn't it? Do you think that Robert Jenrick is a plus for the Reform Party, or do you think that it will unravel in your mind? And either way, I cannot disagree with you. And it isn't just Robert Jenrick. I'm not sure you can stand in a constituency on a manifesto and then swap, and then 3 years later you've been an independent. And I say that to anybody. I don't think it's right. I've never thought it was right.
No, I think it's wrong. I think if you feel your party is deviating from the manifesto, you can resign from the party and be an independent. But I don't think you can then flip to another party without asking the approval of your electors. But I think Robert's defection to reform was bad news for both parties.
More to come, do you think? More to come from the Tory side? Nigel, of course, set this deadline of May the 7th, didn't he? Do you think there'll be more to come?
Well, who knows? I mean, I hope not. And I hope that they will have further conversations with the new leadership of the Conservative Party, because they are very welcome to stay and influence the direction of travel if they have worries about the direction of travel. I don't think I believe the statement that no one will be accepted into the party after the May elections. I find that a rather fanciful proposition.
What about Labour? Farage saying there'll be a high-profile Labour defection this week. Any ideas?
No, I have no ideas. And they've said a defection, not an MP, so it may not be an MP. And obviously a defection of an MP is more significant, both because they're breaking their word to the electors and because it starts to change the arithmetic in the House of Commons.
Final word from you, Sir John. Kemi Badenoch, many people were saying over the weekend she dealt with it very well, came out of it showing real strength. I interviewed her a couple of weeks ago. Certainly she's more vocal, certainly she's finding traction. I've made the point before, I just wonder whether she's the right person at the wrong time and is going to suffer because the Tories do need, if you like, to be punished, it feels like, by the British people. Would you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, I agree that the British public wanted to punish us, and they certainly did a very good job of that in the general election. And they've been doing a pretty good job of that in the opinion polls over the first year or so in opposition. It's up to the Conservatives, it's up to all of us to explain that we've learnt, that we're better, that we now have answers to the problem. But in many cases, the previous Conservative government wanted to do the right thing. They told
did,
us,
I know,
as with immigration, but they were incompetent, or they weren't prepared to do the extra actions, particularly breaking the stranglehold of international law and some of the civil service, in order to do it. I think Kemi Badenoch has understood that, and she's going to spend the next 2 or 3 years working with a top team to make sure that when new Conservative ministers go in, if they are granted that privilege, they actually do mean what they say and know how to enforce it. It goes back to what you were saying about me. You need firm ministers who say please and thank you, but don't take no for an answer.
One of the greatest losses. Should have been Prime Minister. Love having you on, me old son. John Redwood, Sir John Redwood, former Conservative Cabinet Minister. Thank you very much indeed. Quickly to Mary. You've got 30 seconds, Mary. What you got?
I'm very disappointed that Robert has gone over to Reform, because I think that he and Nigel Farage are probably very alike. And I can see another Rupert Lowe situation.
Mary, all you need to do is keep it on talk. Robert Jenrick will be live with Julia Hartley-Brewer from 10 o'clock. Phone up, put that question to him. I wish you the best. Thank you. This is Hannah. Good morning.
Morning, Jazza. Great show. 3 things I'd rather do than listen to Keir Starmer lie/talk. Eat glass, sit on a bonfire and follow through in public. Happy Monday, all.
Oh, don't get me on Zach Polanski. What did he used to do? The ex-leader of the Greens, right?
Grower through hypnosis.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Can I just say,
and
I don't
I've
care
got
if
lovely
this-
breasts.
I don't
thanks.
care if this is cut out about Zach Polanski. He apparently used to hypnotise women and increase the size of their breasts.
Not just
He's
women.
now the leader of the Green Party, looking at him.
Not just women.
Do you know what
That's
I
what I'm
say?
saying.
I think he hypnotises bloody dentists. Have a look at his gnashes, honestly, seriously.
On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
About a couple of minutes to 10. Wayne, very quickly, good morning.
Good morning, Jezza. So, if it sounds like, walks like, acts like, falls down the smallest little step like, and its favourite thing to do is to spin itself round in circles, I'm pretty sure Keir Starmer's a Dalek.
This is because Lisa Nandy said if it walks like a duck, Julia sounds like a duck, it probably is a duck, in reply to being asked if Reform's full of fascists. She got the interview everybody wanted. Fair play to you.
To be fair, he has been doing we were promised an exclusive. He has been on an awful lot of other shows.
Can you do me a favour?
However, we've got a full half hour. We're going to get some
Did you see? I know you won't because you're better. Susanna Reid just looking down her nose. Julia will ask the questions that you want.
I like him, but I still think it's fair. I really like Robert Jenrick. He's a good bloke, but I really still think it's fair. A lot of the concerns of Reform voters is, how do we trust you? You said this, you said this, you said this. Now you're saying something completely different. How do we trust you? I think these are fair points to put to any politician. I also think you should hold a by-election. I think any politician who's crosses the floor, and if it's more than a year to a general election, should hold